Hey, so I'm just hopping on because I can. And a few quick updates. I'm going to do a little bit of reading. Think I'll be on, well, it's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I may stay on until 4 p.m., couple of hours. Anyone pops in to join me, I'll be answering comments. And yeah, then just be doing some reading and things. Hey, Van, nice to see ya. So I figured, what the heck? I may as well pop in. You are here. Hey, do you want to come on and chat with me? We can do a double sprint. So I can, I'm just going to be doing, hey, Erin, how are ya? Just going to be bibble babbling about this and the other thing. And yes, unlike Ven, I don't do well trying to multitask. So there we go. We now have that. No, wait, Erin. Who, what now? I got the spelling wrong. Ven and his spelling. Erin, I still need to see about your move. Hope it all went well and you're settled and things are going good. So, just in terms of some quick channel updates, well, first of all, I actually got my belly dance book tag up. I wore my dragon onesie because, that was fun. And I had a good time with that, as did Tiki and Panther. I was going to put it up for tomorrow, Tag Tuesday, but I had a glitch with the recording, and somehow my laptop decided it would stop recording. Thankfully, not early in the video, so I just had to redo the last, I think, 5-ish minutes. Then it saved, no problem, yay, on the disk and then onto the other system. Then I was uploading it and I have no idea what happened in YouTube, but it's like, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. Yes, it's all fine, save now, because I was trying to put in the little cards that go at the top to, connect it with my other booktube, book tag playlist. That wouldn't work. Then it wouldn't work for having stuff at the end of the video. So I'm like, ugh. Then there was some other glitch and it finally all got worked out. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just putting that sucker up today because I don't want to lose it. Okay, so Erin, yay, it went smooth. Last few things to unpack, completely finished. Sweet. Far more organized than I am. I think we were here for months before I finally got all the boxes undone. How went, okay, so Erin's done an author interview. How went the interview? Wasn't able to drop in, grabbing it on catch up. Okay, so there is another interview on Erin's channel. Oh, yeah, and since I just hopped on, I forgot my hello and thank you for joining me. Big thank you, as always, to Team Rewatch. Much appreciated. And let's see. So I've just hopped on. I'll be, not talking the whole time. I know, shock and awe. But there are a few things I wanted to chat about and update. Horror Mayhem, obviously coming up in May. And I did mention that I'm going to be switching my Friday readings to Stephen King instead of Grimm's fairy tales for the month. If you see some smoke behind me, that's actually a stick of incense where Tiki, bless her little heart, does not go jumping up. It's called Moon, and I love it. It's just a nice, clean, fresh scent. Of course, the outdoors is also clean and fresh. We've had quite a bit of rain today, which is normal for April. I mean, they do say April showers, May flowers. So here's to hoping they are correct. So in May, what will I be reading on Fridays as things fall? See, this is why it's good I sit close to the floor. And Zena must have known I was just going to quick hop on because she's snoozing over in the bedroom. And that means I get to use the chair close to the floor. Yay! So I have picked a few reads from Stephen King's Night Shift. I still need to record them for the Fridays. But the stories that I picked, and I don't know what order I'll be releasing them yet, are The Mangler, Battleground, partly because they're horror, but there are things in both of them that just make me giggle. And yes, as I'm reading them, I probably will have side notes just as I do with the Grimm stories. The Man Who Loved Flowers is a creepy one. That one actually is scary. Children of the Corn just makes the story itself doesn't make me laugh. The title makes me laugh because when I worked in high schools, there was the one, and these two kids, they weren't like Malachi and the rest of them by any means. They weren't evil children, but they would just suddenly be standing behind you, and you're like, what the hey? Where did you come from? So we always used to joke, and they would be quiet, and there were just certain looks. So it was a running joke with their names were Allie and Frankie, and the running joke was just they were the children of the corn. So it is, the story is very gruesome itself, and the novel version is much, much darker than the movie version, which is interesting because I was just over on Gareth's live yesterday, Sunday. I noticed he was on after we left Margaret's birthday live stream, and they were talking about The Mist. And it's funny because Gareth and his guest both preferred the movie version because it's just different compared to the novel, or the short story, which I just read, that comes from Skeleton Crew. It's actually quite a long story. And I prefer the ending in the book because it's not as dark as the movie version, because the book version is just a bit more hopeful, thinking helpful, which, these times we need both more helpful people and more hopeful people, and fingers crossed that's where we start going. But Children of the Corn is the complete opposite. The movie version is more hopeful, and the actress in it, I think it's Linda Hamilton from, I think she was in Beauty and the Beast, and she was Sarah Connor. Still getting used to that one tooth missing. But she was Sarah Connor in the Terminator movies. So yeah, watching her in Children of the Corn, she did a great job. She's a very talented actress. But that story, that movie, has the more hopeful ending versus the story in King's book. And then the last one I'm going to read is The Ledge, which I think is also a very creepy, what would you do in this situation? Now, to be fair, at the start of the story, some people wouldn't be in that situation. And that's all I'm going to say till I start reading this story, and you'll figure it out quick as I get going with it. But regardless of whether you would be in that specific circumstance or not, the rest of it does become what would you do and how would you cope? So I think, like I say, on the Fridays, those are the 5 stories that will be coming up. I just don't know what order they'll be released on Fridays yet. And I'm thinking I will probably record those downstairs with the pretty purple lights, and we'll see what Tiki decides to do there, whether she's going to be swinging off the lights at some point or if they stay up. So that's the update on the Friday reads. Now, I did mention in my posts, and I wish YouTube was so much better with that, because I notice even when I'm scrolling down on the home page, I can't always see everybody's posts. The other option is going channel to channel to catch up with them. Every now and again, they let me know when there's posts, but even going down the homepage in that, it might show me 9 if I'm lucky, and they're not even always the current ones. So I'm hoping that YouTube starts working that out and makes it easier, especially if they're hoping that, making some changes to the community tab and building there, so that, because they're wanting to try and kind of recreate more of a Discord sense of community here on YouTube, so that people aren't always going over to Discord instead. But I think in order to make that accessible and more viable for content creators as well as viewers, is to make sure there's a way to get those notifications and be able to get to each other's communities. So I'm really hoping that will be improving as they roll out more of this community stuff. Now, on Saturday, I got to connect with someone who I haven't seen in over 15-ish years. We've chatted a few times on the phone, but we haven't actually seen each other. Yes, I know, Van. YouTube notifications working. Wouldn't that be awesome? But I mean, again, they've got, I don't know how many billion users. So I guess we should be grateful it does work as well as it does, as often as it does, because I certainly can't imagine trying to juggle that many things. But yeah, so I had a lovely lunch with my friend on Saturday. We got to catch up, and we used to work in a public school together. I enjoyed being in her class. So we were, reminiscing on students and working in public schools. And she's been retired now for 20 years. And she's someone who definitely got the retirement thing down. She got into dancing, into swimming, into traveling. And it's awesome being able to see someone who really enjoyed retirement, was ready for retirement, because sadly, too often that doesn't happen with everybody once retirement rolls around. There's either a ton of health issues or other things, and that doesn't happen. But thankfully, in her case, it was definitely wonderful. And part of her getting in touch with me is she wanted to share a book with me. And I'm very glad she did. I'm looking forward to the read. It's not huge. And the universe is a funny, funny place because, of course, this is the year I'm doing my big Bible study. Yes, I do still have to read Genesis and get that on track, but I've got a few things in place to get going there. And I'm also doing my massive pagan study and reading because I figured let's read both of these, do some comparisons. But all of that, of course, ties into the Da Vinci Code spiral that I've been on for a few years, and it all interconnects. But so this book that my friend shared with me and gifted me a copy of is called 53 Descriptions of America's Role in Bible Prophecy. And this is by Richard Pearson. So this is brand new to me, and I'm looking forward to the read. I know she did mention, and she knows I'm not, the Bible for me is a resource tool, not how I live my life. I think there's important things to it. So I'm looking forward to finding out what these 53 points are. I will be reading this in the near future for sure. And it, of course, ties in with, I think I now have 3 different books on Bible prophecies. So again, all of this is going to tie in and connect. And, we were chatting about, isn't it amazing that this is the year you got in touch with me, and literally just months after I started this whole big Bible project, and we'll be starting to read and connect and putting things together. I was also telling her it's I think the other one is like 23. It's the big honker, Book of Signs. I've mentioned that in an earlier video. I was going to wait to read that until after I finished Dawkins, The God Delusion, but for some reason I can't get into that book. And it isn't that I have an issue with the whole concept of what Dawkins is trying to say. I'm just not getting the way he's saying it. So I have to give that book another try. And I don't know if I'm still going to stick with the plan of finish The God Delusion first and then go to the Book of Signs, or if I'm going to read the Book of Signs first and come back and try and get through whatever it is Dawkins is trying to say. I've also got Dawkins' other book, The Greatest Show on Earth. So the whole controversy of creationism versus evolution. And I've shared, might have been in my last live stream, I know I've said it somewhere recently, how one of my teachers, and yes, I did go to a Roman Catholic public school, and one of my teachers found me immensely irritating because I kept saying, like, how can you keep talking to us about this creationism thing? You want me to believe there were 2 people and the whole planet went from there with the human population, but they had 2 sons. One gets killed. The other one goes off and gets married. Who'd he marry? And, my teacher just was not, well, she and I had a whole lot of issues. And she just didn't like me asking, what do you mean this was 7 days? Explain that to me, because I'm not getting it. It doesn't make sense. And what do you mean there was only one couple and they got kicked out of the garden? Where did all these other people come from? And people really lose their shit when you ask them specific questions and they can't answer. And I'm not just going on faith. I don't go on faith with anything. I want some facts, some information. It's not, I'm just not into blind faith. Let's put it that way. I think especially now in 2025 with so many other things out there, whether it's the internet, the different platforms, or if it's in your own community and what people are saying, critical thinking, this thing, it needs exercise, same as the arms and everything else. And that exercise comes from talking to other people. No, not necessarily people who think exactly the way you do. It's important to check out opinions and ideas from a wide range of perspectives and then make a decision. I have brains in my game. That's now, do you mean game as in your life or game as in something you're currently playing, Ven? Because you play some different games. Me, I just play the simple match 3 so I can, just play and then get off without having to worry about saving. And I just saw your comment, Aaron. Has a brain. Now, Aaron, yes, I have read Holy Blood and Holy Grail twice. It was just after I read the Da Vinci Code years ago, because I've reread that a few times. But I actually read the Da Vinci Code and then I read Holy Blood and Holy Grail. I actually have the second book that group of authors have written, and I haven't read that one yet. But I do need to get to it. It's an interesting read and there's some real mishmash in it. But we need to have a virtual tea and chat, especially I'd love to know what your thoughts are about that, or do a live stream together and we can chat about it. We'll definitely be in touch. Ven, I don't have brains in real life. Yes, you do. Hello and welcome, Dark Star. Happy Easter. And I love those books you show on your channel. They are like so beautiful with the sprayed edges and the covers. Just phenomenal. And that hat, love me that hat. Me, I do, the dragon onesie and little tail dealio, and yes, I did record that video this morning, but it was getting way too toasty, so I've had to change. Whoop, so this is Dark Star Oblivion update tomorrow. So excited. Okay, there is something there that we need to find out about. Darkstar knows what he's talking about. Aaron, love to do a live stream on it. Whilst I found the claims a bit, yes, yes, I totally agree, Aaron. There is definitely questionable things there. I will have to find your email and get in touch so we can schedule a date. There are a number of things with Holy Blood, Holy Grail. And I know when I first read it, it was, I know they've made a mess of certain locations because, of course, and this is the challenge with some of these books and topics, right? So they kept talking about, and right now it's going to escape me. See, this is why I have notes and things, but they did talk about a particular location and how it tied in with this whole Holy Blood, Holy Grail concept. And of course, people who have far more money than I all went traveling to this small town. Oh, it was the priest. Names not Saunier. I know that comes up in the Da Vinci movie. There was a priest. It was all questionable. Where did he get all his money? Did he find, something of relevance and sell it? Other claims are he was a grifter and, getting paid for prayers. And there's a whole lot of stuff there. But anyhow, people were all traveling to this town to see this church and everything else. And they were going out to a farm where there was supposedly something on a rock. The farmer finally had enough of people trespassing. And if I remember correctly, he either smashed the rock, he did something so that people would stop just coming to his farm. And that's the sad thing. And I mean, we see this come up in the paranormal as well, people trespassing in other people's homes and businesses and calling it paranormal investigation. And, ooh, I'm just doing a YouTube video. There's rules, people, and there's rules for a reason. And the whole world is now seeing what happens when people are not held accountable and rules are not followed. If you go to a farm to look at a rock, you'll probably find a goat, maybe called Gary. Oh, that's hilarious. They're not all called Gary. Now, the funny thing with goat, and I can't remember if it was Gareth. It just came up, and I just saw your other comment, and I'll get there in a minute, Ven. Goat, and see, this is the thing with short forms, right? So, goat, when I hear goat, I think of an animal with horns. I think literally of like a billy goat or a kid or, goat cheese, animal. But goat stands for something else. And I cannot, it's a compliment. And I'm lost. If you know what GOAT stands for, see, this is where I would need Gareth to come in, but he's probably working or off doing something else. What is, now I got to look it up. See, I need a sheet of all these short forms. I can't think of it, but it comes up with something else, or Karen. No, well, Karen comes up with so many, and I feel bad for people who are called Karen and what that name has now come to represent. Even though the one who everyone keeps calling a Karen, the initials, and I refuse to say the whole thing because she's just batshit crazy, is Little Miss Laser Lights, and pisses me off. She's making six figures. Guess I'm just not crazy enough, or I just don't lie good enough, or I just don't want to be a politician. Gary's not a good goat. There we go. Thank you, Ven. Greatest of all time. Goat. Goat. Never understood yes, why they think they can wander onto someone's land without getting permission. I 100% agree. And to be honest, it's why I have left pretty much all of the paranormal channels. I think there's maybe 2 that I have left, and it's crazy the number of channels there are. And I mean, I'm sure it goes on with not just paranormal. I'm just saying that because that's the group I'm aware of. And it, regardless of the country, we have people here in Canada who do it. You know, there are people in a number of other countries that do it, which I'm thinking, considering the laws in some countries, is really stupid to do that type of thing. Because, you know, you could get yourself shot. Which does make you wonder, have any of these people disappeared? And would that ever show up on their channel? Probably not. But yeah, I think if you're going to do something, whether it's for YouTube or whatever, like, you know, be respectful, be mindful. And if it isn't your property, and particularly, I guess this is my bugaboo, and not everyone would agree anyway. I'm thinking if you're looking for the paranormal, then you need to know something about the history of the land. Just because a house is empty doesn't mean there's going to be spooks, ghosts, or whatever in it. And if you don't know the property and you haven't checked the records, meaning you don't know who owns it, you're just assuming it's been abandoned, then what are you really going to look for? The other thing I find comical about that is if you don't know the house and you're there at night and you're already hyped up with the adrenaline rushing because you're wandering into a location you don't know, you're in a building you don't know, and every house has its own little quirks and sounds and everything else, especially at night when it's quiet. So no wonder these people are jumping and screaming and swearing and everything else, because the house is settling, but they don't know that sounds. And suddenly they're thinking, oh, it's a ghost. No, it's the house settling. And if you weren't just there a night in the dark with everything else, because you're wondering, because sometimes these places say outright, no trespassing. They show it bold as brass in videos. You know, that's not paranormal investigating, quite frankly. I think you need to know the history of the land. You need to know what else was going on around there. And you have to have permission. But, you know, be that as it may. Um, and yes, sometimes they certainly can be dark star. Because, you know, there's just different things they do or say, and then the little minions who don't do critical thinking go boogieing along, and it's just like, really, people? Come on. let's snap a few neurons and what have you, and you know, that type of thing. But I digress. Sure. Yeah, see, and I agree. Fact finding starts with research before visiting a place. And I agree, then. And when I was talking with Richard Palmisano, who's a Canadian paranormal investigator, and I think it's so cool. He just lives 2 hours up north from me here. And I've read a few of his books and I've talked about them on my channel. And he started an organization when he was 18 years old. He's been investigating ever since. He's not a YouTuber. Go figure. He is an author and he's published about some of his research. I enjoy his books. He shares different stories. He shares about investigations and the different steps and things that he does. He shares about the history of the locations. He shares about his theories regarding what the paranormal is. And of course, those have changed over time. I mean, he's been doing this for, if I remember correctly, it's 45 years. could actually be more. He's got a background in law and security, so he knows how to do investigations, and he transfers those skills to the paranormal, which he's always been fascinated in. So he's very careful about the research he does and the information that he collects and the records that he keeps. And I think that's also a big part of everything is if you're going to do that type of investigation, then you need to be mindful of what was the weather like? What was the temperature like? What possible sound noise pollution is around? Because, of course, if you're investigating whether it's in the city or the country, there could be traffic sounds, animal noises, people close by. I do know some of the investigators have shared, and I have enjoyed some of those clips. Some of them do share the different things that come up. So, as other people come to the houses when they're trying to do an investigation, or people from the area are just having fun with them and tapping on the windows. And you don't see a lot of that in the videos, but I do think it's great when things like that get featured because, of course, they're a factor, and that's the reality of going out to do those videos. And I think it's important not just for the viewers, but also for other people who are thinking of possibly taking their lead and just hopping out with a camera and doing this type of stuff because not everyone features in their videos. Yes, sometimes the police do come and ask you to leave. Sometimes the property owners show up and ask you to get the haystack off out of their building, and off you go. And no, please don't show all my private belongings and things or my family's belongings, because sometimes these places are left abandoned while families deal with various things regarding wills and other paperwork. And for whatever reason, they haven't been in to clean out the home. So, there's a lot of reasons a house may be left like that. Businesses, it blows my mind, the personal records. It's like some of these people just, oh, this hospital or nursing home or whatever closed, schools, and they just all get up and walk out and leave the paperwork. Like, I'm sorry, but WTF, who were the last people out of that building? And why the hell are you leaving people's private medical files and school records and everything else? Like, there should have been somebody there to properly close out that building. Like, I tell you. There are different things that get me, and I know, having been at a school that was closed and everything we had to do and make sure that things were done before we left the building was like, why does this not happen in other places? Like, I don't get it. And what really irritates me is when I see some of these old businesses, etc., and they're just sitting there to rot. Instead of, we have this huge issue of homelessness and poverty and all the other issues going on. And yet here sit these buildings doing nothing but rotting. Like, seriously, they could be fixed up. They could be turned into something different. And even if it isn't housing, it could be, something for social services where people could come and get the support and help they needed. It could be turned into housing for different things. It could be turned into bookstores or something. Like, there's got to be some other purpose instead of constantly stealing farms, because, hello, we need farmers. Somebody's got to keep growing the food if you're going to feed 8 billion people on the planet. So instead of constantly taking over more and more land and more subdivisions and building new big ass factories and whatnot, how about, I don't know, just to be insane, how about we support our farmers, make sure that they have the land that they need, and make use of all these other things. Like I look at places like, what is that one huge one? Waverly Hills in the States. I mean, that sucker's massive. Maybe instead of having people come and traipse around a building that's falling apart and an accident waiting to happen, maybe it's time to take that sucker down, do something else in that area. And there is a ton of land around there that, I don't know, could be something else. But then I'm not making a scat of money off of people coming to show up and go, ooh, yeah, it's haunted. Okay, maybe. But, be that as it may, I'm also not someone who's going to start going, ooh, my house is haunted. I'm going to make videos and have people send me money for years. Which, again, people, do your homework, do your research. If it's been 3 or 4 years and you're still talking about your place being haunted, chances are you didn't really do anything about that haunting, did you? Because you figured out videos, money, people will send me money, including YouTube, because their channels blow up all over the place. But I tell you. So, before I get way too far off, what is everybody reading? It could be Vin, but these people, not all of them live alone. So it makes you wonder, hey, look who showed up to join me in the chaos.
I have drank coffee.
I was wondering what you drank.
So I can't drink other stuff today. That would be a really bad idea.
Oh, you have to go to work early, don't you?
I do. I'm on a 5:15 start again tomorrow morning. So
for shame.
It's fine. I've already had the sick call for tomorrow and the day after. It's fine.
It's fine.
I had a week off. It's not changed. I work with lunatics and imbeciles, but it's fine.
How you really feeling, Ben?
I wish some of them were ghosts. I tell you. Hello, Margaret.
Hey, Margaret.
Margaret's arrived just in time for the chaos.
She has.
It's interesting.
And she's older than last we saw her.
This is true. I don't believe Margaret is a couple of years older than me as well. I just have to say that. Like, I presume Margaret was about 7 or 8 years younger than me. And I feel even more sad now. Speaking about buildings being repurposed, I nearly sent you a picture the other day.
Oh, hang on. So Darkstar, the ghost is the only one that would listen to their whining.
Yep.
Well, okay, repurposed.
What the ghost is actually doing is telling them to go away. And they're just monetizing their own rejection, is what's going on.
Exactly.
But no, I nearly sent you a picture the other day because I was walking to see the ex-mother-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
With the little one. And there's an abandoned church on the way there.
Coffee.
Coffee is good. And it's been abandoned for about 15 years now. Structurally, it's perfectly fine. And it's in the middle of a housing estate. Right.
Didn't you send me? You sent me a picture of a church.
Yeah, that one's not abandoned.
That might have been picking up your kiddos. Okay, yep.
Yeah. It's a bit smaller than that, but it's just sat. It's in the middle of a housing estate, just slowly but surely rotting.
Oh.
And it's like, this could be repurposed into something, surely. Because the church has shut it themselves. And it's probably a listed building because anything that's over 40 years old is a listed building now.
Now, what does
Oh,
that mean, listed?
So here in the UK, I forget the rules vary. Certain buildings you're not allowed to change, particularly.
Okay, here
So
we
if
call them historical.
yeah, so
Yep.
there's different types, and they can be listed for different reasons. Generally speak, and there's different gradings as well. And
Yeah,
depending on
yeah.
the grading, depends on what you can do to change them. But by keeping the outside in the current condition, you could definitely do something with the internals of that.
Mm,
And there's not enough social housing in the UK. Like this is one of the big problems right now. There's a load of reasons for it.
Same here.
I'm not going to get political on it just today because I had a rant about it the other day. But yeah, but there's loads of places like that. And obviously you've got all the old mills and stuff now, which are slowly but surely being repurposed into apartment blocks or
Mm,
they're just building a great big fucking skyscraper on top of it and going, look, pretty.
yeah.
And it's like, no, it's glass coming out of brick. Like, what are you doing? Stop it. It's looking at Manchester's getting really weird nowadays. Now all the skyscrapers are bouncing up.
Look at it. One of the churches in the middle of York changed to a nightclub years ago.
I bet, because the acoustics in a church are immense.
Well,
That would
yeah.
be a cracking night out.
But can you imagine? Like,
York's haunted as hell as well. Like
all of Britain's, all of the United Kingdom's haunted. I mean, dude.
I mean, it is, but York is arguably the ghost capital of Europe. There's a few other options, like you've obviously got like Paris and the catacombs and the places in Italy, but a fair few, it's got like I mean, you can't really go and do the ghost walks anymore because there's just too many people there because they're that popular now. Because it's still the old-fashioned windy streets with all the cobblestone, but they have ghost walks and all sorts. Apparently, it's more haunted than Edinburgh. I've not been to Edinburgh for ages.
Yeah, see, there's the catacombs, and I've seen different people go down there. And of course, it comes up in a number of my books. Before get too far, valid use for a church. I mean, you're right, with the acoustics, and depending on the faith, you know, singing and music is also a part of it. The shambles. Now, I wonder.
That's the name for a specific part of York.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
See, Margaret knows with all her research and things. And Dark Star is agreeing. It is.
I am due a trip to York. It's another place I've not. York is not hard for me to get to, actually.
Now, how far is it for you from Manchester?
Not far, right? I mean, you have to bear in mind, not far for every other country in the world is a long way in England.
Yeah.
But an hour on a bus, not a bus, an hour on a train ish. I'm pretty sure.
That isn't bad, actually.
No, it's probably an hour in a car as well, more or less. I'd have to look it up. I've not been for years, though. But it's so touristy now.
Is
you've got the big cathedral as well, the historic cathedral there. Historically, it's like been a seat of power as well for, like, historically speaking, for various noble lineages and stuff. War of the Roses. Well, I'm pretty sure they were in York, you know, the losing side when Yorkshire lost to Lancashire. Dark Star. I'm going to get battered.
Yeah, hide your hat, Dark Star. If he comes to York, he's going to try and find it.
Honestly. But
it is an amazing hat. I can't lie. I'd like it, but it's an ocean away.
It is. It is. I will get that hat one day. I don't know how, but I will get that hat one day. But
Margaret was from touristing, full confession. So nice. That's how I'm thinking Margaret means she found the shambles. Forget Mary Wee England. Oh, after that stay, he wouldn't be leaving unscathed. There you go.
I mean, in the long term, to be fair, Yorkshire did kind of win because once Elizabeth I popped her clogs, it kind of still went that way anyway. But and Scotland as well, because that's when the crowd reunification actually happened properly. But
Ah,
little bits of history. But it's a
I'm
beautiful
just
city.
wiggling in my chair. Yeah, see, but when you say, I mean, there's so many things, right? Because you've got what did we just say with Edinburgh,
The catacombs underneath.
the catacomb. Does Glasgow not have something like that?
I mean, Glasgow mainly has people that headbutt other people. But
Yeah, but don't they
tell
have
Jenny that.
Yeah.
Actually, to be fair, she'd agree. But I've never been to Glasgow.
I'm trying
Bizarrely.
to think if there's been something in maybe it's the Edinburgh ones that I'm thinking of.
Glasgow
has Dark Star saying they have sewers. But yeah, I can't, because of course this building on top of things, right?
Yeah, which is very UK. Everything's built on top of something else. It's like if you really dig into Manchester history, there's a handful of streets actually under the ground that you can't get access to anymore because you just build on top and on top and on top and on top.
Now, see, Margaret's saying not aware of underground history otherwise. I actually saw a series on Prime, and it was around the same time when I'd sent you the information about the haunted locations. It was something I'd seen on Prime, and I can't remember how many episodes there are. There might be 10 or even more. And it was about all these underground places, and not just in Britain. Like, it's crazy the amount of underground places around the world. They've turned one into a freaking, it's got a Ferris wheel and everything. It's so flippin' big. And then there's some that have now been converted for AI type stuff or computer storage stuff. There are others that it's a dining location and people, and I'm claustrophobic, so I'm not fricking going into anything underground like the catacombs anywhere. But you think Paris is completely built on top of.
Yeah.
Now, and see, this is why I always say critical thinking, and I take things with a pound of salt, not a grain. Imagine what the archaeologists are going to think when they come across the Paris catacombs in centuries from now and have no idea that they just suddenly took all these bones, took the bodies apart because they needed to do something with the cemeteries.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, with the different discoveries they found via the Mayans and everyone else, why are you so sure they were massacring them? Like, what else? I mean, it's not like somebody's going to come forward and go, well, no, you got that wrong because this is what was happening then, because we don't have time travel yet.
There's always some grifter that will try and do it, though.
Hey, if I was
politicians.
Smart, yeah, well, if I was smart, I'd come up with a damn good plan and make money for that. Believe me, but you know.
Honestly, it baffles me. But it's like, and I think I spoke to Margaret about this. It might not have been, I don't know. But when you go into, because Manchester's an old city, it's been around since Roman times. Literally named after the Roman word for breast-shaped hill. There we go. There's your little bit of thing for the day.
There we go.
Manacum, I think it was the original name. But as you go into Manchester, actually on the train route from where I live, which it's only 20 minutes on the train anyway, you've got obviously the great big, the industrial couple of 100-year-old like viaducts or whatever the right word is for train.
Oh, yeah.
Bridges. But underneath the train bridges, you've got Roman fortifications that have been kind of renewed. You can just wander around.
Yeah.
And it's literally like throwing distance from the train line. They're obviously not in. They're a bit sad, to be honest. But you can wander around them. They're still there. They're free to wander on. They've got little information plaques.
Oh,
But
cool.
it's like, well, then you bounce then into like the center of this big industrial city, and around there now is where they're beginning to really modernize into like the skyscrapers, because at the moment Manchester's got so much investment because
Mm,
it's been a bit of a test bed for stuff that I think it's got the second most skyscrapers in the UK behind London.
really?
Yeah, and I was looking when I went to pick the kids up the other day because the route that I go, you can actually see like the not close. You're about 4.5 miles away from the city centre. You sort of skirt that close,
Yeah.
and the amount the skyline's changed in 10 years is ridiculous. And I think they've just given permission for the largest skyscraper outside of London as well, which is literally being built up out of like an old like factory mill building. Because of course it is.
Wow.
So they've got to keep the brick front at the bottom. I'm sure they won't accidentally break that and have to completely redo it and make something cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, that's a recent somebody cut down an ancient tree. It was a pub
Mm.
chain cut down this hundreds of year old tree. It was actually a registered tree. Oh, it was an accident. Oh well, we can build our Toby Carvery now. Like surely you knew what you were doing.
Sure.
I love businesses.
Well, and I mean, there's so many different, well, even over here, part of what happens is with these wind turbines. And it's
Mm.
amazing how many of them have popped up where they're not supposed to be. And it's crazy. Like we have in my area, it's called Lakeshore Road because it literally goes along the entire lake. Now, as a kid, there were no wind turbines because, I'm that old. But now you go down there, it's nothing but wind turbines. And
There's
yeah.
we still have fights about wind turbines real in the UK, which all we have is wind and rain. We might as well make use of it. But like from where I am now, if the trees weren't in the way, because I saw it back on school grounds, got massive trees there, but you can see
Ah,
straight over the moss towards Bolton. There's a few wind turbines dotting the things. I mean, if I take a bit of a walk, because I can actually walk up the Mossland here anyway.
mm,
There's like a motorway bridge. You walk over there, you can just sit there. You just have like the panorama of like the. It's called Winter Hill because we're really. It's the only place locally that gets snow.
ah,
It's not really, but it's like the biggest local hill. It's not very big,
yeah.
but it's like you can see like them all dotting away because it's not that far away from here. Nothing's far away from anywhere in the UK, actually.
Well, see, it's amazing because the one channel I've been following for years, World of Mr. Gray, Dan is in South Wales. And every once in a while, he goes out and about and does his walks, and you can see the wind turbines there. But he's also mentioned how many of the trees are being cut down and disappearing, which is ridiculous because we need the trees.
Well, it's ridiculous for another reason as well because a load of the forests around there are
Mm,
technically rainforest. They're
mm.
temperate rainforest rather than like the tropical type, but it's
Yeah,
temperate
yeah.
rainforest. There's a couple of them in the UK, and it's like you can't really build houses in Wales. There's too many hills in the way. Just let it be wild, like the people.
But oh,
I have Welsh relatives. I'm allowed to say that. So
don't be costing me a sub. Dan's amazing. And
yeah.
actually, I couldn't resist. I did tag him in the belly dance tag, even though he's a debunker, not a booktuber.
Hey,
He's
spread the word.
Hey,
Spread
he's
it.
so funny, and he did a video with some of his dance moves from the pub. So we'll see if, and he's a reader as well. So we'll see if he does it or
Well,
not.
I know Noah is currently in his editing software, so I'm wondering if he's recorded his yet. He
Uh,
probably hasn't, but
we'll have to wait and see. Gonna
yeah.
catch up here. So, Margaret, except for the abandoned transport tunnels, yeah, it's amazing between old mines, a lot of them that were in this series on Prime. I'll have to find the name of it again. A lot of them had to do with World War II and shelters. It must have been after World War II because it had to do with nuclear bomb shelters
Mm,
and all these different countries who had them built up, and they're now being repurposed for growing things and so many other things, which are pretty recent, perhaps. Yeah, there was one actually, Margaret, in the US. Might have been one or two in the US, but I can't remember the states that they were in. There were a ton throughout the United Kingdom, some in France, I think, and then some even farther in other countries. It was a fascinating show. Be right back. Quick lunch with mom. Enjoy
nice.
the lunch. Read
Pardon me.
Pure by Andrew Miller. Okay, Paris Underworld. We'll have to check that out. In York, there's a law that no building is allowed to obstruct the view of the minister when you're driving into
Yeah.
the city.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
things. There's I don't know if it's the biggest theme park in the UK. It's between that and Thorpe Park, but there's in like towards Stockton, as you're heading towards the Midlands. I think it's still in the north, but it's a bit of a dicey thing saying where the north of England starts. It causes rows. I don't understand. But there's a theme park called Alton Towers, and it's built on like the grounds of like this manor house, which is still there.
Yeah.
But they're not allowed to build the rides above the tree line. They're actually restricted
Um,
by the height, so you're not allowed to see the rides from the outside, basically. So they have to do all sorts of tricks with the way they paint them and how it all works
right.
to keep it in regulations. Because obviously, it's a theme park. You want big scale roller coasters. Doesn't work if all your trees stop at 30 feet. So you've got to find ways around it. So they end up going under the ground and all sorts. But I've not
Oh,
been for a
wow.
long time.
See, now I've seen different pictures, obviously, of London, England. Now, I haven't been there since I was 16 because we had gone in December. I turned 17 in early January and we were still in Britain. So I left Canada at 16 and came back at 17. But London would look nothing like what it was when I had gone there. I mean, I see these different things, and we were in London for part of the time because I had some step cousins there, and then we were mostly in Bexhill on Sea and another small. Where's the Chalky Cliffs?
Dover.
Thank you. So we were in Dover because I do have a picture of those cliffs. So between those areas in that time, but I'm sure most of it looks crazy different now because I remember seeing this massive Ferris wheel and I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, that would be the London Eye. It was meant to be a temporary thing and ended up staying for years.
Yeah, but
And
why?
became really so people could get a good view over the cityscape. Is why it eventually ended up staying. It was meant to be a temporary thing. I don't think it's
Yeah,
there
so is
anymore. I
income
don't know.
tax, but what the hell? That ain't going anywhere.
We don't talk
You
about
always
tax.
you always gotta wonder when they say temporary and it's politicians. It's like, yikes.
Hmm. Hmm. No, London genuinely scares me because of how big it is. Because it's magnitudes bigger than anywhere else in the UK. You can't
Mm,
put a finger on it, and it's everything in the UK is so London centric in the way it's all ran. So I'm quite lucky in Manchester. It's beginning to spool out a little bit because they've started to do devolution and all
mm,
politics stuff, and they're beginning to renationalize things locally, which is great
mm.
after stupid choices in the past. But I went working in London about it must be a decade. It must be more than a decade ago at this point. That would be the last time I went, actually, a long time ago. And
Mm.
I'd never been on my own. I went for a week. I just went down. It's like, how does the tube system work? How do you read that map? How does the payment system work? 'Cause obviously it wasn't quite to the point where it is now. Where you just go dink, dink,
Yeah.
dink, and then at the end of the day it goes, this is the maximum amount of money you have to pay because that's how the system works now. But it was weird taking longer to get from the middle of London to the outside
Mm.
than it does to get from Manchester to Liverpool.
Really?
Yeah. It's ridiculous in terms of scale compared to everywhere else.
Well,
So
see, and like I say, I'm claustrophobic, hate elevators. Funny thing is, as long as I can see out the damn thing, I'm okay in it. Like I've been up the CN Tower,
yeah,
and of course that's an elevator, but you can see out. And my friends are like, if you're thousands of feet up and stuck, wouldn't you be freaking out? And I'm like, no, because I can see out. Like, I'm not going to worry about that. I don't want to be in a damn box and I don't know what's going on outside. But I did go in the underground
yeah,
when we were in England. And I mean, again, you're going down, 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 and these,
yeah,
you call them tubes, right?
yeah. Tube stations.
But I mean, it was a hoot. I loved it, and it didn't freak me out, even though you knew you were going underground. But
Well, I
yeah,
know there's a heat problem with the underground. I've not looked into the details of it, but it's gradually getting warmer and warmer and warmer. Because
really.
naturally, the UK, we're not going to put air conditioning in something. Don't be silly.
Oh yeah, see, that's
Yeah.
not a thing for you guys over. But your
No,
temperatures don't get. It's a different kind of heat.
it's to offend people with choice of words. It's moist, which is a word many people in the UK do not like.
So you do have the humidity. Oh, there's
Yeah,
people over here that lose their mind when you use the M word as well, which I don't
yeah,
know, but teach their
yeah.
own, I guess.
No, it's always humid because it's always rained the day before. Always.
Well, and you're around, let's face it, you're surrounded by water and you're
Yep.
not massive.
No.
Actually, I should check how big the UK is compared to Ontario.
I can check that now.
Oh, see? Yeah, and see, you can multitask. Like I said, when I'm doing a live stream, I have to focus on comments, and even if I'm on my own or if I'm focusing on a guest, I
Okay.
can't do that. I'm afraid I'm going to kick myself out. What's
So
the word?
Ontario, well, the UK, that's the UK, so that's all of it.
Yeah.
Is about 25% bigger than Ontario, which is not a massive amount, really. Because
It's
we're
only
just
25% bigger.
yeah, and that's 4 countries. Because that's
Yeah,
England,
exactly.
Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland. So yeah,
That's wild.
yeah. And it's wet and it's miserable and it's cold. But the really interesting thing, though, is that whilst we moan, because it's the national hobby to moan about the weather, we don't have the temperature swings that other countries have.
Yeah.
So our summers are not that hot. Our winters aren't really that cold either because it's just a temperate climate. If you go to like Poland, they hit 35, 40 in the summer and minus 20 in the winter.
Well, like here.
Yeah. And it's like
We get the extremes, and then you factor in the wind chill or the humidity, because even though we're not I mean, we're landlocked.
yeah.
But we still have the extremes, and when our heat hits, it's a moist, humid heat, and that's what really zonks you out. Like if it's just hot but not humid, that's not too bad. But if it's hot
No, it's always
with the humidity, it's brutal. Like we finally last year broke down and bought air conditioning, which I refused, partly because of the hydro and partly because because if you get used to air conditioning and then you go outside, you're wheezing for 10 minutes to acclimatize to, but we just have it in one room. And Zena, bless her heart, I mean, 16, asthmatic, and she tends to hang in the room with the air conditioning. So basically we got it for the cat.
It's fascinating because it's been ages since I went to the US, but obviously the US, everything is air conditioning. I have never felt so ill than when I went to the US because of the air conditioning.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't like this. But then again, I don't think I'd like Florida heat in my bedroom, like in the nicest way possible. It's like, no. It made me laugh, though, because we went, and I mean, this is years ago now. It was my ex-wife, me, my dad for his 50th, and my youngest, who was 4 at the time. And he's 21 now, which tells you how long ago it was.
Wow.
And we're there driving round, and there was a massive thunderstorm, like proper lashing it down.
Yeah.
We're just quite happily wandering around t-shirts and shorts because it's warm. Everyone else is running for cover. Probably because they know that lightning does hit people, but you know, it's
Why
fine.
stress about it?
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Enjoy the view. But then we went, like a few days later, we went to like an out of town like retail park, and it was literally just spitting. It was about 35 degrees. It was horrendous. And everyone's just pegging it for the door, like bags on their head. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's water. Maybe it'll wash away your sins. I don't know. Just what are you doing?
But see, so when I was in Britain, and like I say, it was December, and I just basically had a light autumn jacket with me, or almost like a spring type jacket. And I'm boogieing around all over the place, plenty toasty warm. I didn't have on layers and stuff. I didn't even have on gloves or a hat. And I'm like, do. And my relatives are like, their winter coats and they're bundled up, scarves, hats, mittens. And I'm like, this is mild. And they're like, oh, this is cold to us.
I own no hats, one scarf, which I bought 10 years ago and I've never worn, and about 3 coats. And those 2 of those coats do me all year round. One is because one is partially waterproof. But even then, like, I won't put a hood up. It's like, just have hair. You know, maybe that's why I'm not going bald yet, because I just keep watering it by walking outside.
Your hair is getting all this.
Honestly. But
which I just noticed the light. It's almost, I've got to decide. I just bought color. And I've got to decide, except I still have color C here. And I don't want to, oh, gosh, there's a difference. But I see,
that's pretty close to mine, actually.
Yeah. Well, I bought a brown, and it's got 3 different shades in it. And it's actually close to what my hair used to look like. Well, when I wasn't coloring it constantly. And I thought, well, do I want to do it one more time just to whoop it up and then just let it go back to being gray? Because like we were joking on Margaret's yesterday, and it does crack me up. Like people in their 20s, 30s strip the color out of their hair to put gray in it. I'm like, you know, when I started coloring my hair in my 20s, never did it occur to me to pick gray.
Noah did that last year.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I can't say anything because I have actually got the stuff to do that. I just haven't done it yet. But
why
I also
do you want to be gray? You get there eventually, and then we color it. Get the irony.
But I've worked in considering Dark Star. I've worked in retail since I was 16. I'm 42 now.
Hey, I worked in schools, and I told my kids, 1, they were responsible for it, and 2, they owed me a box of Miss Clairol. Yeah. And they're like, what is that? Because it was public school.
No, I have worked retail for 26 years, and there is grey there. It's quite hard to see, but there
damn,
is
you good.
Yeah. And I also work in a budget retailer, which adds more stress because they don't employ staff and try and murder you.
But it doesn't help when the staff they do have call in sick. Okay, you may know what this means. So Dark Star, 8 years at ASDA. Is that
Asda? So Asda is at one point was part of Walmart. But
okay.
So they were UK supermarket. They were the second biggest in the UK for years. But shit now. But sorry, bad language. They're really poor now. But they were part of Walmart. Ended up buying into them, trying to dominate the retail market as Walmart tends to do. Doesn't really work in the UK when you're going against Tesco.
Well, it got rid of our Woolco. I used to love Woolco. It's where we used to buy our appliances and things. And then Walmart came in and Woolco was gone, and it's been Walmart ever since. Now they're not just department stores, but big ass grocery departments and
Yeah.
everything else. It's like,
That's how a
yikes.
lot of them are over here. Obviously, not to the same scale, I suspect. Certainly not to the scale of like a US
Mm.
Walmart, because they're just
Massive.
insane to me. But like the way they've started doing it now is you have like 3 gradings of like the big retail stores, where you have like the hypermarket, which, fun fact that nobody needs to know, but I know it. Where I live was the first Tesco hypermarket in the UK. They knocked it down years ago and built a brand new one on the site, like while it was still open. Maybe they buried some customers in there. There's a happy thought.
Maybe they got Jimmy Hoffa in there.
Oh, honestly. But the
I'm so bad.
but but then they have like a mid-range. So they used to be open 24 hours a day. They don't anymore because they realized you don't make any money between midnight and 6 a.m. But they still have teams in doing work. So I think the logic was always, well, if people are going to be here, we might as well leave the doors open for people to spend something, which kind of get, I suppose. More likely to get burgled, but there we go.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you have like one down which has like limited opening. Then you have like local stores, but they have different pricing between them all. So the local stores have higher prices.
See, we have some like that here in the city, and it irks me. It depends on which part of the city you go to, the prices in the store. And I'm like, but wait, you're the same damn store.
Yeah. It's like you have a London Uplift over here. So, like for the company I work for, there's your starting rate, or there's your starting rate if you live within a certain area around London, and it's higher because the cost of living's higher down there because everything's more expensive.
See, and to me, and I was actually talking to my husband about this with all these dumbass tariffs and Lord knows what, because our election is on the 28th here. Now, thankfully, it's only a month and a bit, and we'll know the results on the 29th.
As it should be.
I'm thinking so. And we went and voted on the weekend because they're early poll, so we wanted to make sure, get that taken care of. But like I was saying to my husband, and because we were out shopping the day before, going to, I don't know, one of these days. And I'm like, this is insane. Oh, I know. It was Thursday when I had my dental thing, and then we went out and did other errands. And I'm like, these prices are crazy. And he's like, yeah, everything is. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, I get there's the tariffs and things cost them a bit more. But they already had things marked up to make a freaking profit.
Well, speaking of profits.
Look at you with your evil little grin.
I'm not going to rant, but Tesco in the UK is the biggest supermarket. It's not even close. I think it's like 28% of the entire grocery market is Tesco. Something like that. It might be a little bit less than that. It's ridiculous anyway. No one's nearby. They have announced that they are expecting to make less profits than last year, to the tune of about £430 million less profit, so that they want more headroom for reductions, because basically everyone else is trying to undercut them on prices. And they're facing more and more issues from discount retailers, like where I work, because people have suddenly realised that, maybe a tin of beans doesn't have to cost £1.35. You can get them for 35p, and they're close enough to not care.
Yeah.
So, which you see like a massive sort of spike for like the German supermarkets, because efficiency drive. It makes me laugh though, because they go over to America, or they actually went over to America, and there's so many complaints because they let the cashiers sit down.
Yeah, see, that's something and I noticed when I was in the UK, but yeah, it doesn't happen over here.
Really?
Yeah.
the logic here
They
is
all have to stand.
yeah. The logic here is it's not nice to stand in one place for a long time, but also you're expected to scan an item every 3 seconds. So it's ballistics at the other end of the till. So it's
Well, and it does actually make sense because standing that long, and I mean the belt and everything moves.
yeah.
I don't know why they've
Yeah.
never switched it to sitting here, quite frankly.
No, it's a weird one. I didn't know Canada was the same actually, but
Yeah,
the
we
thing
are.
that really irks me.
We are different. I'm going to keep screaming this from the
No,
rafters.
I thought I know I expected you to be like us and let them sit down.
Yeah, no, we actually
Which
don't.
baffled me, actually. I thought you were a civilized country.
Yeah, not always.
But then so many people complained that they took the chairs away because
What?
customer service. Not over here because we
good.
drain them. That's never going to happen. But like in the American stores, they actually took the chairs away.
See, and again, I'm thinking it would make sense here in Canada as well, because again, it doesn't happen. But it does, when you think about it long term, make more sense to let people sit, especially for the length of hours they may be working at the till. Because you can, you can still move around in that, but that's a lot.
It's a lot twisted
on your spine.
Yeah. But workers' rights, who needs them?
Yeah, well, at least so far, neither of our countries are rah, let's get the 14-year-olds to work because we sent too many people out of the country.
We let 14-year-olds work. You can get visas for it.
No.
No.
See, here you have to be 16 to get your social insurance and legally work. No. I started working when I was 12, but I grew up on a farm, so
So you can get like farm. I don't know if it's still a thing. When I was growing up, like the local farms used to have cabbage picking and stuff in the certain times a year. Don't think we get away with that anymore. But you can get in the UK, you can get a young person's working permit for them to start working earlier. So like when I was at school, my best mate worked in the greengrocers at 14 at the local supermarket. But it's changed over the years. There are limits to what you can do. Like you're not allowed to work more than this many hours. You're not allowed to work certain days. You can't work this many hours consecutively. Break times are different. So there's a load of protections in there. Like my daughter wants to go and work at like a charity shop, doing just for a bit of experience. Mum hasn't done the paperwork yet, but she's like, I want to see what working's like. It's like horrible, but good on you. Experience.
Exactly. To go. And this is one thing that a friend and I were chatting about, because her daughter, when she was in high school, had gotten a job in a grocery store. So she was working as a cashier a couple nights a week and still able to keep up with her studies. Excuse me. And then all this self-checkout stuff started coming in, and her hours were going down and down because with self-checkout, they didn't need as many humans at the tills. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, how are teenagers supposed to go out and get work experience when more and more of these shops are getting all these self-checkout things?
We're getting self-checkouts in my store this year, which I'm not happy about.
Well, tell them to pay attention to Canada, because after this whole boondoggle of putting self-checkouts everywhere,
that doesn't work.
But guess what the stores are finding out?
Stuff gets nicked.
Yes, they're having more and more theft through the self-checkouts. And then you get bitchy people like me who refuse to go to self-checkout. Yes, I have gotten into arguments with 2 staff at a particular store who keep going, here, why don't you go to the self-checkout? And my first response is, do you not like having a job?
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? Yep. Well, toots, I
Yep.
don't want to deal with the machine. For me,
I'm
shopping
not
is the
paid.
whole experience,
Yeah.
and I want to talk to a human, not listen to damn bells and whistles.
Oh, honestly. Dark Star seeing pretty books.
Woo! Oh, when the moon hatched. I
I have
just
that.
saw that.
I have the basic version, which is very
See,
pretty.
Dee Dee, I think, was reading that in January. I just saw it.
It's pretty.
Oh, was
cool.
it Livia? It was Livia who did my dragon tag, and
Yeah.
that was one of her shiny covers.
Yeah,
I need to find me this book.
I don't think you do. Like, it's a pretty book, but if you don't like Fourth Wing, you might not like this. That's the map
Oh,
inside, though.
that makes me sad.
So it's a
Ooh,
romantasy
no,
book.
that makes me happy, but
Yeah, the map's
like
beautiful,
Fourth
but
Wing makes me sad.
yeah,
No.
it's a romantasy. Now, I haven't read it yet.
No.
My daughter is currently listening to the audio. I hadn't vetted it properly. My daughter is 15, so there's a little bit of leeway here. But
Yeah.
there's some spice in there. So she had a bit of a shock when she put her audio book on one morning, straight into a spicy scene when she got out of bed. And it's like, oh dear.
Hey, cat!
Hey, cat. I will say, Darkstar, have a wander over to Waterstone's page because they've got a special edition coming out for When the Moon Hatched as well.
Okay, so I need Darkstar. Have you read When the Moon Hatched yet? And then you and Darkstar will have to read this. Oh, I should ask Dee Dee too, because I think she has finished it.
I think Dee Dee really liked it. Hermit really liked it. Book Hermit. She loved it. So
okay, so Darkstar hasn't read it yet. Now, see, Dee Dee and Hermie know I hate me Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
Hermie agrees with me about Fourth Wing, and she is not reading the next two books.
Fair enough.
But Dee Dee loves the series and is continuing. So I'm going to have to mesh through all of your opinions and figure out what, because I love the sound of this book.
Oh, it has pictures.
Darkstar doesn't like the Waterstones version.
Oh, okay. I mean, I've only seen that. I like the Waterstones version, but it has some pretty illustrations in here. Actually.
It does. Share.
It's got. Well, I've just lost it, but even your headers for your chapters.
Ooh, look at that.
You got all stuff like that. You've got little diary entry, little notes, and I've never actually flipped through it. And pictures of fake letters and stuff.
See, now Darkstar is saying she gets the style they were going for, but it just isn't her cup of tea.
I mean, to be fair, I think we may have figured out me and Darkstar have a slightly different taste when it comes to pretty books. So I have lower standards, basically, is what it is.
But you both have. I mean, those sprayed edges are amazing.
They're becoming a lot more common as well. When where was I the other day? The Hunger Games. There's a re-release of the Hunger Games series in Waterstone.
Yeah, no doubt.
Completely different sort of covers, but they're all very pretty sprayed edges. It's I've still not read the series, but I want those books on my shelf. I haven't bought them though.
See, I've read them just finally, but I'm going to get to Kat's comment first and then back to the Hunger Games. I should check that out. Thank you, Kat, and find out if the library has it and give it a test run first. Up to Chalky Cliffs of Dover, have to pause, load the car. Cement risers. What now? I thought you were going out for lunch. How do we get to cement risers?
I mean, I didn't think American food was that bad, but sorry, that was uncalled for. I do apologize.
Play nice. So Darkstar is saying Waterstone's sprayed edges are getting better and better. Yep. There we go. Yeah, now Darkstar has a couple of is it book clubs, kind of like Book of the Month, I think. Yeah. You do some of that as well.
I don't, but she has Paige and Wick. I think Do you still do Illumicrate? Maybe. Illumicrate's very pretty. That's I'm buying an Illumicrate special edition in. Is it May that it comes out? The Robin Hobb series.
Tiki, doesn't she have fairy stones or something? I'm thinking.
Oh, Fairy Loot. Fairy Loot's pretty as well.
Yeah, I think that was one of the
I can't
one of
keep
the
up.
others.
I can't keep up with all the pretty books that Dark Star.
Yeah, she's got a lot of pretty books.
Yeah, more than me.
Don't know this one either.
Bloodswan. So it's Dragony books. Meant to be very, very good. I've not read them yet. Have I got book one? I think I've got book one on my Kindle.
Now, is it dragony minus romantasy?
I believe it's fantasy. I believe. I've heard good things. Although not about the latest one. Not about the latest one, though. I've heard mixed reviews of the most recent one, which I think is the third book in the series. I think.
Now,
Kitty!
Tiki. See, she was mad during the belly dance tag, and I'll apologize now. Oh, nope, she's heading. She was mad during the belly dance tag because I had to change around the living room. Panther was eyeing his camper getting moved because I needed the middle of the floor. But Panther was hanging around through quite a bit of it, and Tiki was like, wait a minute. He's getting more attention. I'm going to sleep in his hamper. So she did, the little brat. And yeah, so now she just wandered past, but she's traveled off again, little monkey. But hey, actually, Ven, have you read When the Moon Hatched?
Not yet.
Okay.
My daughter has. I haven't. My daughter is a distance through it. She thinks it's quite good. It is aimed for her age group and above, though, to be fair.
Now, if you read it, and we actually have different opinions on ACOTAR.
And Fourth Wing.
Well, yes. Yeah, that's true. See, you liked Fourth Wing. I liked ACOTAR. Hey, Leslie.
Hey-o.
I liked ACOTAR, and I did, all things considered, like Silver Flames. I did not like the books in between.
No.
But it's mostly because it was spice, which isn't my kind of read, but other people do enjoy.
Well, Noah has corrupted me with spice. And then the other day I corrupted Dark Star Stream with spice as well. Just on a side point, Kat, if you are going to get an offer for Kindle Unlimited anytime soon, because I know you're probably due like the 3 months for 99p or whatever. When the Moon Hatched is on Kindle Unlimited. Just a thought. So
yeah, and I don't have Kindle, but
I've just thought I could show the cover of the book because I have it within reach. Is it suitable for?
So hold that one thought for a sec.
Yeah,
sounds like your mom's being the task manager. Did she not read the instructions? Then Tiki made her appearance. Margaret's taking the 5th on cement blocks. Wish I could hang in real time. BRB again. No worries. We're having fun keeping up.
Ooh.
Hide her stuff where she can't reach it till she behaves. Are we okay? I just have a couple more and then we'll see. Whoops. I just lost Leslie at work. Gotta go. Oh, wanted to pop in. Oh, we miss you too, hon. Happy sprinting. Yeah, we're probably just going to be chatting.
Yeah.
Tiki for me. I will if I can catch her. Or actually, I'll let her dad give her a kiss because she's a little mama's girl. Tiki, fussy kitty. She is that. Just lucky she didn't get dragon tail swiped. Well, funny story that she was hanging from the dragon tail before I started the video. And I'm like, this is going to be so bad with a little cat swinging off the back or batting at the tail. But thankfully, she did not. So, whew. Big book getting hyped up is The Night and the Moth.
Now, I looked at this, I think because Dark Star mentioned it somewhere else. And I've not heard of this. Maybe it's because I've been so in the indie space recently and not really paid much attention to stuff outside. I do have a Dragon book coming in the next couple of days, actually, on a side point, which I'm very excited for. It's actually the follow-up to that one, and it's a similar sort of cover as well, which I'm very excited for. Because
that will be fun.
That's the UK exclusive cover. It's a very different cover in the US and Canada.
Yeah, I still don't get what that's. So Ven, trying to tempt folks, keep seeing free trial ads, then they tell me I'm not allowed. Ooh. So yes, we will have to get your book up before Kat has to go back sprinting. Yeah. That's so cute. Well, we did manage to sprint on yours, Kat. And hilarious. You shaking it while Tiki shakes from the tail. Well, I did put on my video, to be fair. There is some tail wagging.
Well, I'm not saying a word.
Yeah, and see, I behaved on the Voxer message, so you behave here.
I always behave. I don't know why I've got such a besmirched reputation.
I cannot imagine.
I can, because I have a book in my hand, so I can imagine. So it is by the author Dr. Chuck Tingle. So, in fact, do you know what? Actually, for people who don't know who Chuck Tingle is, because it is worth.
Did you just do a review? Why is that name?
So I have done a review of a couple of his books.
Okay.
Because
historically,
last year, in fact, actually, when I was don't
okay. So no, not in the last week or two.
No, last year, so it would have been August, probably.
Okay, so I will have from something else.
I'd have covered it on a mini book haul for my special editions that I bought over Christmas because they were cheap and I wasn't going to read them, so they didn't count as book buys.
I love the way you have your rules for book buys.
Yeah, because what he started to do is write horror. Historically, he writes smut. Specifically,
so now it's smutty horror.
No, actually, interestingly enough, the first one is kind of Christian horror because it's looking at not concentration camps. What
Bye, sweetie.
Oh no, come back. Book. This is the book. So
she'll catch us on rewatch. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah. So I mentioned this in Dark Star's first sprint.
Okay.
Me and Noah
I missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, she's doing more.
Yay!
No one was prepared for the Chuck Tingle glory hole on every level. So how do I describe it? Absurdist erotica is how I describe it. So you always have a person and a living. How could I even describe it? Okay.
Human monster
a little bit, or sometimes it's not monster, sometimes it's like a concept. So, like, to give you an example of story names, the story's only about 20 pages long.
For Chuck.
Which of these ones do I?
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at Dark Stars.
Sentient mashed potato.
I cannot look at a door since Ven and his silly picture of Unhinged.
I introduced that to Dark Star as well.
Of course you did. I have not read it, though.
No, we did a live reading of some of these stories, me and Noah. Noah struggled a little bit. We picked each other's books. I can't remember what he picked for me. I've got it on my Kindle. But he got to read Bigfoot Pirate Haunts My Balls. And as you can imagine, he struggled a little bit.
I can imagine.
But Chuck Tingle
is it a collection of short stories then, Ven?
That one is, yeah. But you can buy them individually. And oh boy, you normally get 2 stories, but you actually, the list of all his books at this point that is at the back of the book is longer than the book itself because he has that many. there is a lot of Trump bashing stuff because he's very LGBTQ plus friendly. He's very much his
there
whole
we go.
thing is love is real and you are valid. That runs through all of his books as like quite a wholesome thing.
Yeah.
Even these horror books. So I mentioned it in the.
I'm not trying. I just have allergy weepy eye at the moment.
That's all right. So like, I mentioned it in the Voxer earlier, actually. So Bury Your Gaze was the book I mentioned about talking for our live stream next month, where we're going to be talking about stuff.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
the title of that is based around Hollywood and the idea of how they historically and still do to a large extent deal with certain parts of the community. The hero of the book is asexual because that's never shown in Hollywood. And the AI that was the villain of the book couldn't, because they had no learning data from their own movie pool, couldn't figure out how to beat the asexual person. They couldn't comprehend it, which was an interesting way to go about it, amongst other things. It was a very melancholy ending, shall we say. The next book looked fascinating because the next one's called Lucky Day, and it's got a picture of it's meant to be like a king, the king card, like the King of Hearts. But the bottom half is a skull, the top one is the king. And then the bottom one's got like snakes with an eyeball coming out of the skull with a sword going in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And then the top one's got like miniature like demon bunnies stapled to the hat. But all like in the stylistic thing of a playing card. And it's like, what is this about?
Yeah, exactly.
I need to, in fact, you know what? Poker Face meets Contagion. After a global disaster prompts thousands of comically unlikely deaths, a bisexual statistics professor who is convinced herself she might not exist, and an ethically dubious government agent must travel to Las Vegas to unravel the connection between deadly bouts of absurdity and a supernaturally lucky casino.
Well, there you go.
I'm waiting for the price to drop because it's about £24 at the moment for pre-order, and that's not for a special edition, and I don't want. Oh, that's pretty. Move away from the Amazon page.
Right. Focus on the live stream. Quit shopping, damn it.
Yeah. I've been really good. I've bought no books in the last week.
Define no books, because somehow you still rack up the Kindle freebies.
No. I have had an email.
Freebies?
I've had an email today for freebies, and I haven't looked. I've opened it and gone, I might look later, but I'm aware that I have a lot. So, but I actually did a count the other day because my daughter said, how many of your books have you actually read? And I thought we won't look at the Kindle because that's probably about 20% on the Kindle.
Really?
Yeah. It was more than that until very recently. But my physicals is sitting at about 45%, 50%, which I don't think is that bad, considering how many I buy.
That's true. You do much better than I. I'm just going through here because there's a few. Well, I'll have to go through Dark Star's catalog and look at the titles of
so many.
A number of these authors. Well, that's it. And there's just so much. And I find sometimes, and I don't know if this happens to you as well, I'll watch a video, but if I don't have a paper and pencil, because I do it old school like, but then I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. That sounds interesting. And then I forget to write down the title.
So what I do, which is why I spend so much, is...
Well, because you work too.
I have another tab open for Amazon, and I save it on Amazon so that then I can go.
What was you're watching?
Yeah, so quite often I'll have two lists on Amazon. I've got a private list. That's where the smut books go, and I have.
You don't want people buying your smut.
No one does anyway. We discovered not the worst. That's a lie. The first smut book I read was genuinely because of Noah. And it was
say?
No, it genuinely was. It was, I think I'd been on BookTube 2 months, and he said, this book's really recommended on TikTok. Now, I didn't know how bad TikTok was at this point, because I wasn't on it.
And yet you got Cat on TikTok now. See, you are corrupting people. Dark Star just said, with the smut books, now you got Cat on TikTok. You're a bad influence.
I mean, to be fair, mainly me and Kat send videos that either upset the Tango Man or sometimes cat videos. So, or videos of Gary the Goat, although I don't think I've sent them to Kat. I send them to other people. But there is
You can share
genuinely.
my cat videos.
Has he on TikTok?
No.
I can't share them then. But he lent me a book. It was called The Beast. He didn't tell me what it was about. He just told me it was really, really well reviewed. He didn't tell me that he'd read it and regretted his decisions.
See, you can't trust good reviews.
Not from TikTok, you can't, no.
Not from anywhere. Look at how many people just rave about Fourth Wing, and that did not work for me.
Do you know what the really interesting thing is with Fourth Ring? That and ACOTAR on my review score are only about half a point between them in terms of score. I think I gave ACOTAR a 3.25, and I think I gave Fourth Wing a 3.75. You can't trust TikTok. There is one book I am going to listen to that's been recommended on TikTok. I can't think what it's called. It's got like a blue skull on a black background.
See, this is why I prefer BookTube and talking to people and virtual tea, because I want to know from people who have read it. And a number means nothing to me, but I want to know content. See, and if you like your smutty books, what are you holding off on Feyre for?
I don't know. Because
you get your pipes cleaned on a regular basis for the next 3 books, dude, for pages and pages and pages.
Maybe I'm just jealous.
Maybe.
No, what do you know what it is? And I actually know exactly what it is. I'm a fantasy reader, first and foremost. I don't like bad fantasy. And I don't think ACOTAR is good fantasy. And that's why it irks, because it doesn't. And this is my own fault, but the way the characters are in ACOTAR, the Fae, I've said this before, they are not Fae.
Yeah.
They're too human. And
you've mentioned that.
Yeah, and it drives me. Compare it to, and I've mentioned this before, but the Holly Black books, the Cruel Prince series. I'm 2 out of 3 in that. In fact,
I haven't read those.
I've seen them described as romantic. I think that's unfair because actually there is a romance element in there, but it's almost like fantasy politics, but of the Fae court.
Okay.
Which makes it more interesting in a weird sort of way. It still has the, I'm a morally brooding, dark male protagonist that they want, but when the character gets outsmarted, it's not because the character is stupid. It's because the people around her are just so much more because they're like thousands of years old and she's like 26. So they've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
But back to like the BookTok thing, I actually don't get that many recommendations off BookTok for books, strangely enough. I get the odd thing that floats through, but I tend to get a lot more indie stuff floating through mine. So I think if Dark Star's getting a lot of smutty books, I think it's the algorithm trying to tell us something.
See, that's why you clear your history on YouTube now and again, because if you happen to go watch something and you don't clear it, then it keeps showing that. And it's like, no, I'm good. I've seen all the news I want to. I don't want to see anymore for a while. Clear.
Yeah. But the other thing as well is like, it's not me. You don't follow me on TikTok. Don't blame me. Well, if you go look, to be clear, so we mentioned The Beast before. I thought it had finished at 3 books.
Look at him doing the backward dance.
Right. And then Dark Stars told me there's another 2 books in this series, which I am not going to read because I read book 1. And because my review of that did really, really well, like early on, it's like, sod it. I'll do book 2. I've never regretted anything so much in my life as reading book 2. And as
it's not as good.
I mean, the first book was crap. The second one was worse. The first book is Beauty and the Beast retelling. The second one is Little Red Riding Hood. But this is monster romance, where Little Red Riding Hood gets with the monster.
There you go.
And the wolf doesn't change.
With ACOTAR, it's Beauty and the Beast. And to me, it isn't so much other than Tamlin shape shifts, but he's a fae. There's no curse or or anything like Beauty and
Yeah.
the
Well,
Beast.
in fairness to the Beast, it is a fantasy retelling,
Mm.
and it is beat for beat a very similar story with very similar characters as well. You have Gaston, you have the Beast, you have a curse. All that is actually in there. But she
Yes, but
likes
it's
him as
not in ACOTAR.
no, but she likes him as a beast. And then book 2, they get with a wolf who kidnaps her. And I think I did the video, and I have never felt so depressed recording a video in my life. I actually did the video, slammed the book, no face, no background, just a background with a thing saying, "Don't read this book. This is Stockholm Syndrome at its worst." I just slammed it. And then as revenge, I made Noah read book 3 in the Discord, 2 people. And book 3 was Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And
Oh, geez.
they shared Goldilocks.
Bet they did.
So, but now I know there's more
What
of
kind
them.
of carp do you guys read? Like, holy jeez.
To be fair, I'm not that bad. I read relatively, if you ignore Truck Tingle, I read relatively normal stuff. Noah reads
Yeah.
Morning Glory, Milking Farm, and Tentacles and Triathlons.
Yeah, no thanks.
No.
So Darkstar saying, thing that's irking me, a lot of books are being promoted as enemy to lover, and they aren't. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I find that frustrating too, that when a book is promoted a certain way or hyped a certain way, and then it turns out it isn't. But going back to ACOTAR, and I still need to finish my video. I did my little clip for Silver Flames because I had to get that back to the library, and I'll have to see if I like the way it was worded or not. And Noah's been after me, but there's a book 5. You have to read it. I'm like, number 1, no. Number 2, no. You can read it and tell me about it. No, you have to read it. I'm like, not happening. Ven read the other 2 on 4th wing for me. I am not reading any more about ACOTAR because I don't care after this point.
Oh, Darkstar's reading it next. Oh.
Okay, so we
Please.
better be. Okay, we're not. No spoilers. No spoilers.
I want you to record your reaction.
To what?
ACOTAR. I want her to record her reaction to reading it. I am really curious if she ends up as angry with it as I did. I suspect Darkstar might do.
Okay, still working through Bridgerton. Okay, is that a British series?
Yes.
Okay.
I've never watched it, but it's very popular. It's very it's got Dame Maggie Smith in it amongst other people. It's got a load of British luminaries. I've seen lots of clips of it. It's not my sort of thing though.
Yeah. Hold that thought for a minute. I just remembered he's got a dental appointment at 5 tonight. That's why he's home early.
Ah.
So don't give any spoilers to Darkstar.
The only spoiler I will give is that she survived through book 1, which upsets me. Like, immensely. At least the books are cheap though. Like, that's the plus point. Really, really cheap. But like, what? Have I actually got any smut books on my shelf?
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, I've just given one spoiler, which is Feyre survives. So, hey, Constance.
Hey, Constance, happy Monday. Yeah, I just hopped on today. Oh no, Kiki's gone out because they have to get their lunch early. Oh, supper, because it's just around 4. He has to go for 5. But Zena, our little diabetic, has to have her insulin, so she has to have her yummies first. And she does not let me give her a needle, which is probably for the best because I'm squeamish about it. So Daddy has to give her insulin.
I don't talk about needles. I do really badly with needles.
Oh, I'm not. That's the worst part of dental work. I can handle everything but the freezing because it's like a big ass needle coming for your mouth.
Yeah.
And it's
this won't hurt a bit. And they're just holding a hatchet over your head. It's like,
exactly. There'll be a little pinch.
A little pinch them. I was thinking, have I actually got any smut on my shelves? I don't.
But yeah. Okay, so we have to behave with ACOTAR because I forgot Darkstar hasn't read them yet. And I
She's lucky.
absolutely want to know what she thinks of book one.
I hate book
Because
one.
both of you tend to read quite a bit of fantasy, correct? And you've
Yes.
got, see,
Yeah.
for me, the most I know about Fae are kind of Lord of the Rings. And I think I've read maybe one other series that are Fae related.
Yeah.
And that
Which,
was only a couple of books. Now,
yeah.
with me, if you get into vampires and screw around and make them like glittery crap, then that's where I lose my mind. But I don't know as much about the Fae realms
Yeah.
as the two of you.
Well, it's quite interesting because Lord of the Rings is it's kind of Fae adjacent. In a lot of other like folklore, elves are Fae, but in Lord of the Rings, they're kind of not. I've not seen Twilight, read or seen Twilight yet. I was meant to read it last year with Noah, and he read 100 pages and I read none.
Oh, that's right. You guys
Yeah.
did. And yes, I agree. Twilight sucks and not in a good way for vampires.
No.
It's just ridiculous. But yes, now here's the other thing, and not just because of TikTok. I had no idea Akatar's 10 frickin' years old.
Yeah. That's pretty old. So's Cruel Prince is about the same age as well, actually. But they've got popular because, and it's actually quite interesting when you think about it, because you had this sort of explosion of reading during COVID.
Yeah.
Because everyone was away from everyone else, you had that loneliness thing, and it really kind of drove romance in particular, because it was on the decline before COVID.
Oh, there we go.
Interestingly enough, I did a little bit of research into this because I was going to look at.
You research everything.
I do. I end up down rabbit holes. It's not good. But what was really interesting looking through it, because I ended up looking at, I was going to do a video on whether, I ended up not doing it in the end. But I was really curious if Fourth Wing could kind of, in the same way, despite the fact I hate it, but Twilight is a really important book in a lot of ways, even though it's shit. But in terms of popularizing certain things and being a trend-setting book, it's kind of, and I was curious to see if Fourth Wing
like
could be
Harry
the same.
Potter, right?
Yeah.
Getting kids reading.
Yeah, Harry Potter, because you had Harry Potter, then you ended up with Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief, and various other.
Which we didn't get back to this yet. This is the only Hunger Games one I have. But you're right. And I read the Percy Jackson ones, enjoyed them. My condolences, Dark Star, that you had to watch all that shit in the cinema and pay money, but
I did not watch it in the cinema. My ex-wife likes the books, which is why we're divorced now. No, it's not. But there's far better reasons.
I would imagine so.
On both sides, to be clear. But I mean,
but you are right. I mean, and it was funny because I was working in high schools when Twilight was becoming the big thing, and the Vampire Diaries were on TV, and then the spin-off, the originals came, and we would get in
at the moment. I was filling my head in while she was here.
Well, and we would get into these huge debates about vampire rules, and Twilight is not a vampire series because vampires don't frickin' twinkle. That's just nonsense. But yes, again, honker books that kids were reading. Yeah. Or teens. I shouldn't call them kids. Teens or tweenies, if you want to.
Yeah, which is an interesting thing, because that was back when you had teen and young adult as two separate sort of things. And again, and who did a video about this? They were talking about book bannings and book censorship. It was what's his name? Big booktuber. Can't think of his name.
Not sure.
It's going to annoy me. I'm going to have to look.
Okay, well, you look it up while I read Dark Stars, because this I did not know. Twilight then spawned 50 Shades of Grey, which, by the way, I've never read.
No,
I did pick up for the band.
Ollie, that's the one. Criminale.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I picked up 50 Shades of Grey for $1 at the thrift store. I figured that's all it was worth. There were kids when I was working in high school who had read that. And I'm like, Yeah, you're reading, but I'm not reading this. I
No.
didn't read it last year. I actually gave it to a friend of mine, and I'm like, I picked it up. I thought of doing it for banned books. I have no interest in reading this. I don't know if she's read it or not, but I didn't realize there was that connection. And then the
Yeah.
dark romance genre
Yeah.
turns on 365 days as 50 Shades fan fiction. Well, there you go.
I am not touching fan fiction with a 10
Oh,
foot barge pole. But yeah, Criminology did a
Constance
video.
knew
Yeah.
Criminale.
Because there's been I don't know how well publicized this has been, but there's actually been a article doing the rounds about book censorship in the UK and how it's on the rise a little bit and it looks like it may be
Oh yeah,
possibly
I
being
just saw
funded by
that.
US. Yeah, and Ollie's done a video talking about how it's different and how culturally there's the difference from the UK to the US, because over here it's not, the parent doesn't really get the say. It goes to like the classification boards for stuff like that, because he used like the example of film, and his argument was very much, I prefer the UK way. Let the experts make the decision, not the parent. If an expert, okay. But that was like to do with films, and because over here, like you have a strict 15, which is R-rated in America.
Yeah.
So you can go in with parents' permission, whereas over here, you're not 15, we don't care. Yes, sit outside. You can still get in. But it's a very different like approach of, and it's even less when you go to Australia, it's even more restrictive as well. On a side point, there's
Really?
yeah, especially around video games, bizarrely, which is an interesting little side point. There's a lot of video games that are very hard to get hold of in Australia, or are a much higher age banding than the rest of the world, interestingly enough. Or they've had to make alterations to the game for the Australian market. Just on a side point, it's quite interesting actually. But it was like, his argument was, if you have this process in place of experts, of clinical psychologists and educators, so on and so forth, surely their informed opinion overall is probably a better guiding stone than whoever it is that lets the kid watch Alien at the age of 5, like my dad did. Explains a lot, but it was quite an interesting video actually. But
It would be, but when I was looking into the UK band stuff, there's still quite a bit going on, even in the UK.
oh yeah,
Because when I did it last year, I did a comparison of Canada, UK, and United States. And there's different articles that I'd found. What is your big one over there? The Guardian?
the big one, unfortunately, is probably the Daily Mail, but that is toilet paper, and nobody should ever read it because it's just right-wing propaganda at this point. It's hard to judge because almost all the newspapers are right-leaning at best.
Well, this one that I think it was the Guardian, if I've got the name right. I don't
The Guardian is what probably one of the more center ones, but it's a shallow pool. They're all owned by Murdoch. So, hey Dan, you all right?
Daniel, long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Well, I think it was talking about different things and about particularly the group that oversees what books and things are happening in libraries. And it was talking about some of the stuff going on with librarians and how some of the people are quite rude and ignorant. Yeah. And I mean, sadly, that happens. I don't think it matters which country they're in. So, yeah, I don't know. There's just so many different things to the overall issue.
I mean, I think the bigger problem right now in the UK is funding for libraries.
And same here in Canada.
Because the real term funding, I think, has reduced by 40%. And because we like to write rules that could be tiptoed around, councils have got to provide library services by law. What those library services look like is less defined. So like Birmingham, which is on the verge of bankruptcy as a city, I
Oh,
think they've shut loads of libraries, and they have like a couple of libraries that still, or at one point anyway, was still operating properly. It's
yeah.
local to me, and I mean, I've ranted about this in the past, but there's 2 libraries near me. One of them, for a large period, was an unmanned library for a lot of the time. You needed a code to get in, you could just go in and go out as you pleased, which seems like
Mm,
a really stupid idea. But like the big library where I used to go as a kid, it's still there now. And all the space, there's where there is still bookcases, there's half as many bookcases as there used to be.
mm,
Then the back room, which used to be a whole kids' library of its own, that's used for something else now. Half
uh,
of the actual library space is the job centre because they've turned it into that as well. Which,
yeah.
I'm all for multi-purpose buildings. It makes sense. But there's nothing to encourage people to go there. And it was quite interesting at one point because in the US, it looked like there was a period where, especially with the younger generation starting to read, they were seeing libraries as social spaces,
Yeah.
which actually I really like. I mean, it can make them a bit louder, sure, but it gets people reading and talking about books and interacting, and that's a good thing.
Mm.
And we're just strangling the library situation over here.
Was,
Yeah, that's another thing. Aaron makes a really good point.
yeah.
They've got social care costs are going up as they are everywhere in the world. They only
Yep.
get a limited budget. What are you going to do? Keep the libraries open or fund social care? And they can't fund social care even doing that. It's a political choice where the money gets spent. And
Well,
it's hard to argue against some of the choices sometimes when you don't have any money in the first place.
but the thing is, if they take a look at priorities and overall what's going to help the population, like what irritates me right now, and we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks and where things go. When all this nonsense started with Captain Makeup and this bullshit about our borders, they're going on about blah, blah, blah. And this is coming over in our country, which no, it isn't. It's coming the other way, in fact. And then our idiot politicians, oh, well, we're not going to buy your alcohol. Morons. It's a drug. It has a different name, but it's just as addictive. I'm sorry. And the fact that you're gloating about how much alcohol you all drink is not a good thing. But yet there's like $1 billion or whatever the hell they spent on the border over an issue that wasn't even a realistic issue. Well, in terms of it coming up, not in terms of, or in terms of it,
Yeah.
coming up into our country. So hopefully that money stops some of that shit coming up here. But on the other hand, have they talked about any programs to deal with the addictions? No, not
Education.
a single freaking cent.
No, education. Like for the future, education's the long-term answer to all of this. Or not all of it, because there's always going to be some.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there always is. But you can educate people better.
Well,
Like it's
the education, it's the problem solving, it's having counseling. Because if people are, just a sec, got a cough. If people are okay going to see a counselor, a therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, if they go out and talk to people, guess what? They're less likely to become addicted to alcohol and drugs to avoid having to deal with whatever mess is going on.
Yep. But the other thing as well is you've got the social taboo thing going on as well a little bit, especially men's mental health spaces as well. I think it's a bigger issue on that side because, and we'll get into this next month when we have our live. There is, and it's getting better. Like I do need to say that, especially like the younger kids now seem to be more willing to talk. They also don't know how things work, but they seem to be more willing to talk about stuff, and that's got there's a healthier kind of relationship to work-life balance. Maybe swinging too far the other way. We'll see. These things always swing one way or the other. That's the nature of the world. But I don't want to get into too much here because we're going to be talking about this and other things next month at some point. So
Yeah. And
but
I think it is an important conversation to have, and I agree with you, is, you know, between the programs, between the education, between where is this new generation focusing, and you're right, the pendulum is constantly going back and forth, and I think maybe if nothing else, with all the poo that is hitting the fan repeatedly and flying backwards and then some, maybe from some of this stuff, because this time the world's watching.
yeah,
And granted, sadly, if you're only getting that through the media, you're getting a biased opinion, whether it's papers or news or YouTube, whatever. But that's where conversations between people are important, particularly the people who are living through this crap right now.
well, the thing is though, it's not conversation. And this is something I've said to Aaron, because me and I don't think it's too far to me and Aaron are on different sides of the political spectrum, shall we say, which is fine because
It's
you know,
important to
yeah,
talk to people on the
and
opposite side.
that's the key thing. We can have a conversation. We might not agree, but I'm not here to convince him that he's wrong. I just
Well,
want you to go, well, look, this is what I think. What do you think? And if you don't agree afterwards, that's fine. But
yep.
it's the conversation that matters, and it isn't anymore. And the other thing is, because of social media, especially things like TikTok more than YouTube, it's sound bites, which is why Trump got in, because he's good at it's something he is very good at. He's good at the sound bite.
Well, he bites.
I mean, yeah.
I'm not sure the sound's that important, but he bites.
But he's very good at latching onto an idea.
Oh, yeah.
Not always a
Well,
good
that's why
one.
he's got his own platform, because he can just spit out whatever garbage and the cult followers will buy it because no critical thinking, fact checking. Ooh, he said it must be true.
Yeah, but then again, there's so many issues in the US. I mean, there's issues around the world.
Everywhere. It's not just US.
To be clear, the US feels like it might be the in some ways from on that part of the spectrum at least. It's arguably the most capitalist country in the world. And I'm not anti-capitalist by any stretch of the imagination. I think the businesses should be allowed to make money within reason. And I think
there's a role for sure. Same as Twilight. That may suck, but it has a purpose.
Yeah, and competition is important for innovation and so on and so forth. Efficiency is a thing. It's when stuff becomes unchecked where there's that's where the problems are right now, where we've gone too far down one route and not balanced it, and there's political failures on both sides with that. I've got completely sidetracked from what I was actually going to talk about a second ago.
Sorry. Probably my fault.
No, I don't think it was. Where did we start with this?
You and Aaron, different sides of the political fence.
Yeah. It wasn't that. It was before that. I can't even remember what it was.
Wasn't about capitalism.
No. Oh, my phone's going off.
Had to do with opinions.
It probably did have to do with it. Yeah. Okay. So it's there's no conversation anymore because number one, it's become quite militant on all things. We see this with the trans debates. Regardless of where you sit on the discussion, it's very much very polarized rather than a conversation, and that's the extreme example. Book banning is another one. Book banning is a really weird one because if you really think about it, every other sort of media we age gate in some way. Even magazines get age gated in the UK anyway. So you have magazines that actually have age ratings on them that kids can't buy. So like gaming magazines used to be a 16 or an 18, for example, just for video game magazines, because some of the games that they covered would have been 18 plus games. So magazines have an age rating on them. Films, music sometimes has warnings on it sometimes for explicit content. They have to put the Yeah, so it's less obvious now because digital streaming. But even like on Spotify, if you're streaming on Spotify and lyrics are explicit, it'll have a little E next to the title of the song on Spotify, at least in the UK.
Yeah.
So you still have some level of age gating for all the other medias, but you don't for books. You have these vague things of, well, you have like the age group, so you have like your kid baby books, and then you have like your 4 to 8, 8 to 12, or
Yeah.
whatever the equivalent are in other countries. Middle grade, I think, is 8 to 12 in the US, if I remember correctly. But then you used to have teen. That's disappeared now, and it's all young adult, and that's quite a wide range now. And it's like, well, do you age gate books? And there's an argument that if you do it for every other media, then actually probably you should have books that you turn around and go, you've got to be 16 plus to read this. But then how do you do that? Because how many books are released every day?
Well, and then when it comes to nonfiction,
well, that's the other thing as well. That's why
right. So do you say, well, you're too young to learn about some of these archaeology theories and what have you because you're too young?
Yeah, it's that's why, in a bizarre way, Genderqueer of all books, which is the most banned book in the US for the last couple of years, and I've read it, I've reviewed it, I can understand why. I actually can. There's some imagery in that book is quite shocking, actually, in some ways. But that's a memoir in graphic novel form. Part of the reason it's so controversial is because it's a graphic novel memoir, I think, because it's got that visual element to it that other books don't.
True.
But there's a blurred line there, and it's like, well, where does that line sit? And I don't think publishers help at all. And I saw
look at ACOTAR, that was originally out as young teen.
Yep,
now I've read all of them, and
it's not young teen.
Well, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I agree. Those books, that series, I don't know about what her other series are like. I haven't read them. But as far as the 5 books in ACOTAR, do not belong in a high school any more than 50 Shades of Grey would, quite frankly. But having read those books, those scenes are very explicit. I mean, in Silver Flames, there's one scene that's literally 10 pages long. And not every student in high school could handle that.
No.
Nor should they necessarily be reading that type of explicit stuff, thinking this is how a relationship works.
Well, you won't let them go on.
They should be in libraries, not banned entirely for everybody.
And that's where you've got a bit of a weird. I don't care. You do have variations country to country. So, like over here, 16 plus ACOTAR, fine, I suppose, because age of consent here is 16. Okay, if you could do it, you can read it. Fine. Obviously, you then have certain other things are 18 plus, but reading is a slightly different medium because it's not as visual. Like, okay, just about, but okay. But it's published by Bloomsbury Kids. That's the thing that really gets my goat. It's like it's published by an actual kid. And to be fair, like now I've only read 2 books in the series so far. It might go off the rails. But the Throne of Glass series is YA. There's nothing in there from the 2 books I've seen. It's a bit violent, but no more so than any other fantasy book. It's not particularly gruesome. It has fade to black scenes, which I'm perfectly fine with for a YA.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that works perfectly fine. That's fine. When you show it on page, then that can't go in a school. Unless it's an actual educational book. And that's where you then start to hit the ideological divides, shall we say, in some places.
We'll see. And you've said it's 16 and up.
Yeah.
For ACOTAR, correct?
The age of consent in the UK is 16. So there is an argument that it'd be 16 and up, but you can't. There's some films you can't watch till you're 18, and that content will be in an 18 plus film. So it depends on if you see a book having the same effect as a visual medium, which it depends how you approach that argument. To be honest, I think it's a hard one to. Thing is, they're looking to fetch the voting for 16-year-olds in the UK. If you can vote, you can read that.
Look at your phone.
So
you look at your phone. We'll see the thing. Yeah, I sent him a text because, but so the thing because 16 is the age of consent here as well. But in high school, you have students who can be 13. Now here, they can go to school till they're 21, which I haven't quite figured out why.
Yeah.
Because our correctional system is 12 to 18-year-olds are young offenders.
Now
18 and up are adults. But yet in high schools, we can have 13 and 21-year-olds in the same building. It's a bit bizarre to me how you designate adults and stuff.
We do it really oddly, actually. Sorry, I just want. So technically, the school system here finishes at 16. So that's when, and then you have college. So you now it changed a few years ago because it used to be at 16 you could leave school and go and do whatever you wanted. You didn't have to stay in education at that point. A lot of people did. Now you've got to stay in some form of education, but that is either an apprenticeship or college or something else. But it's not school. That's further education at that point until 18, and then 18 to 21 or slightly further is university as a rule of thumb. So the actual school system itself stops at 16 here, and it becomes something else, which is why you have a bit of a weird thing here. But then, on the flip side,
love you, bye. He's going to get his teeth done.
That's not helpful. So in the UK, 10 to 17 is the youth justice system. 18 to 21, you're considered young adult. So you don't go in. It actually has a layered approach, interestingly, where, no, you've got a separate thing for this age. At this age, well, if you're guilty, you're still going to, but you're not going to go to the old people's prison. You're going to go to young people's prison. Changes are made to keep youth unemployment down. I mean,
it's hard to say.
I'm not sure
motivations for.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I 100% agree with that. I think there's an element of that to it. I think there is an argument that once you get to the end of school, you've got a better idea what you want to do with your life, and that's where you should then get the further training to move forward. That's what the internal part of me wants to believe the reason is. It probably is to keep unemployment figures down.
Well, because they play around with stats, and that's the thing with stats is you can make them say and sound like anything you want. And the government certainly make good on that of, oh, look, this and that, or these stupid polls, because they're absolutely meaningless. You know, it's not like they poll the whole frickin' country and come up with something. They get a small sample.
Oh, yeah.
And, this is what. And to me, talk about a grift, because this party's going to win, that party's going to win, and then it turns out no, that isn't actually what happened at all. But people made thousands and thousands of dollars doing all these stupid polls that get people wound up, muddy the waters, and it's like, just do away with those stupid things. They're not helpful.
I genuinely think polls are damaging for democracy on the run up to an election in an election cycle.
Oh, hell yeah. Some people don't bother going out to vote because it's like, oh, well, that group's winning anyway, so why would I bother?
Yeah, and I think it's slightly less of an issue where you've got a quick election cycle like the UK or Canada. In the US, where it goes for years.
Hey, Jen. Well, that's it. I mean, you've got somebody in office for 4 years, so they claim, but they're actually in office 3 years because the 4th year they're touring back and forth around the company for an election.
I'm going to
And
be honest,
instead
though.
of spending those hundreds of millions of dollars on shit for politicking, how
Yeah.
about you put that into social services and feed your people?
You don't need to feed people.
Well,
That's
apparently not.
what you should do is make them poorer and be thankful that they can eat the shoes that they have on their feet.
Well, there's one who's definitely trying to make that a reality.
Well, the only polls we're paying attention are the exit polls. Exit polls are fine. I don't mind them so much because they tend not to appear until after the. Although they're generally accurate, although the last couple of elections they've been a bit spotty, depending on who you go with. Because what we've discovered is there's a level, especially in the UK anyway, for some people, because of we had the Conservative government for so long, and largely they've been bashed, rightly or wrongly. I'm not going to comment here. My opinions are probably quite obvious, but there's a level of shame sometimes in these polls as well, where people don't want, because of how negative the association has become with political party A. And again, this is something that I know Aaron's talked about on his channel, is to do with how certain people won't necessarily speak their things because of that negative association.
Yeah.
And that does a disservice in a way, because you need the varied voice. You need the voices on both sides, whether you like what they say or not. I don't like him. I think he's a prick. But you still need Trump's voice, but you need something to balance that on the other side. You need Trump's voice. You need him shouting into the thing, but you need the people who can point out the stupidity of it. And that's where we've failed.
You don't need his voice. We've heard his crazy for years.
We don't want it now.
Who call him an egomaniac have had him on for a decade. The news, the late night hosts, the newspapers. Don't call him an egomaniac when none of you have shut your pie holes for a decade.
No. But
now you're making me mad. I'm coming through the screen, dude.
I'm not pro-Trump. I need to say that.
I know.
But part of his success, other than him being very good at appealing to a certain demographic
figure,
he is a cult
politician.
Figure. And
Jim Jones would be proud.
Yeah, but the best way to describe this.
Make me come over that ocean and kick your ass.
What we are seeing is a failure on one side of the political establishment to
stand
get
up
its message
and
across. It's not even that; it's the ability to communicate your point of view. So, as an example, the Labour government here in the UK, which is not a Labour government, but I digress. One thing that they are really bad at doing is communicating what they are doing in a way that people understand. And that's kind of what's happened. Because realistically, if the people on the other side, and obviously you have the issue with media being skewed one way or the other, as it always is.
Yeah.
I've
seen the comments.
Yeah,
I agree.
My issue is the arguments against him haven't cut through, and that's not a failure on his part. That's a failure on the people against him's part.
But
because he should have never got in. Like, let me be clear here: he should not be anywhere near the White House, like at all.
But see, and here's the thing, and I'm sorry if I sound agitated, and I love you to pieces, but I think what gets me so agitated, and I'm not even in the country, but I mean, Jen and others are, and that's where I said it's important to talk to the people who are in the middle of this poo storm and hear from them what's happening and what they're seeing. But I come back to the reason. Well, there are two things that agitate me about this. Number one, the fact that the people in his own party let him run again and kept their mouths shut and are continuing to keep their mouths shut while citizens are disappearing from schools, their homes, and businesses.
Yep.
And, people are saying, some of the older folks, we've seen this shit go down before. What's wrong with you people? And that's it, is the people who could have stopped a lot of this a month ago are saying nothing.
Yep.
But the other part, and I'm going to keep referencing Jim Jones with Makeup Man, because this isn't about politics. It
No,
is
it's not.
about a group of people who literally worship him.
It is, but what's the best way to put this? Trump, I hate doing this. Right. So Trump
Hang on.
is.
I'm going to say, let's hope so, because that douche is as scary as any of them. And they're all freaking scary.
I mean, none of them should be near power because none of them have the qualifications for the jobs they've been put in just on a side
And
point.
there's the
And
problem when you elect everybody is no qualifications.
Yeah.
It's who can grift the most money to run in the damn election.
Well, a load of those aren't even elected. That's the other thing. They're appointed by the winner.
Yeah,
which
okay, good point there.
is a ridiculous system of government. It's fine if you appoint actual specialists. That's fine. But when you appoint idiots and then say, don't believe the specialists, we have a problem. But anyway, that's something else entirely. But
and here's a good point, though, too. There were protests.
Yeah.
And people are starting to stand up and try because sadly the politicians aren't.
Well, and the problem you have is people voted they didn't vote for this.
No.
They voted for a lie. Now, should they have believed that lie? No. But Trump
they should have looked up what the hell a tariff was before they voted.
They should, but Trump is very much and you've seen this all around the world as well at the moment, just on a side point.
Yeah.
Trump is not he's the cause of the issues right now, but overall he is the symptom of a far deeper rot. And you're seeing that around the world right now, where you're seeing rejection of more progressive principles in terms of traditionalism, or quite often rooted in religious belief as well. They tend to go hand in hand. Again, no judgment on anyone who's religious. I am not, as is well established. But the problem you've got is you've had these decades of people have lost, and you're seeing it here in the UK as well. People have lost faith in politicians, and you can't blame them. And they've got angry, and they voted for change, not knowing what that change is.
Yeah.
And awful though this is, I actually generally think in the long term, there's going to be some fucking horrendous short-term pain here. There really is. This is going to kick off the reset that it needs. Because everybody is eventually going to turn around and go, what the fuck have we done here? And as people keep saying, the world is watching as well. But we're seeing this around the world right now, because what we've seen since the war in particular is we've seen a break of the social contract from government to the public.
Yeah.
So here in the UK, the best example of this would be house ownership. It's impossible for me to afford to buy a house. Like, it's too expensive for the bits of my generation are fine, but for like people like a little bit younger than me, they can. When you look at how income and expenditure and so on, and that's because we took away certain social things. We took away some of those protections that the state was meant to protect the population, and they haven't. They've done short-term gains, and it's causing long-term issues. And I'm quite lucky because mentioning rent is horrendous. Like, I'm lucky because I know my landlord, and so I get a relatively good rent. Inheritance tax, horrendous. There's a lot wrong in it. It's because governments have either lied or failed. Not always through their own fault. Sometimes external things happen. Sometimes things do just happen and you can't deal with it. But if the one person in the world you should be able to trust is the politician that you vote for that goes to govern the country. If you can't trust them and your teachers, there's a problem. And do we trust the politicians? No. So people are voting for change, and because they're angry and they're desperate and they feel beaten down. And unfortunately, sometimes when you vote for change, you're not voting for what you think you're going to get.
Well, and sometimes with the politicians, and I mean, I make no secret, I don't trust any of them.
No.
And part of it, though, is even the good ones, and there are some good ones. I mean, I could probably count the number on my hand, but they make promises, they may mean well, but then they get into government and realize they don't have a snowball's chance in hell of actually doing what they were hoping for.
No.
And that's why I think, I mean, what you're saying is exactly true. All of this stuff is a symptom of a much bigger problem.
Yeah.
And this, and I want to say, like with Sophia, she's saying, even impossible to rent on my own, never mind buy. Rent here in Canada is insane.
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, I'm on the median wage now. So I should easily be able to afford to buy a flat for a 1 or 2 bedroom flat. I should be able to afford that. I can't. Reform is no, reform. I misread that for a second. Reform is definitely not the answer. Reform is. I'm not going on that rant.
Yeah.
I have thoughts on reform. Let's leave it as that. I am very much anti-reform. But then when I speak to my eldest, who's 21, he would have voted. He didn't vote, but he would have voted for reform. And it's like, I've had to sit down and go, explain to me why. It's all right. It's perfectly fine. I did do politics.
That's okay. He punched my buttons. Go for it, Sophia.
I did politics in college, so this is why
I did not. I avoid them like the plague, but with all the shite in the world, I can't avoid it right now.
But he'll say things to me occasionally. I'll go, okay, where did you hear that? Have you looked into it further? And he'll tell me where he's heard. It's like, okay. So what you're actually referring to, as far as I understand, is this, and this is the information, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. It's like, oh, that's not what this said. It's like, did you look at other places? Because obviously there's a bias in the media. And again, as a generation, his generation is so disenfranchised now, which you can understand why.
Yeah.
And again, why would you believe it's really a 2-party system in the UK? Maybe 3, you can argue, but it's 2 really. Why would you vote for either of the 2 political parties who have been in charge forever? And the other thing as well is we have this swing, don't you, where one government gets in, then the next one goes in, that was all rubbish, we're going to undo it all and do our thing. And it doesn't work, which is the drawback of the political system we have, and you have the same one in Canada as well. It creates strong government. The drawback is you get a seesaw effect, whereas other voting things, you have a different set of challenges with other proportional representation stuff, which is always worth considering.
Yeah, but I mean, and they all have their flaws, as we're watching play out on the world stage now. Even when you can vote for the leader, it doesn't always work out for the majority. And when the majority of the population doesn't vote, then it really goes to shit in a handbasket. But Darkstar's saying, I think what people are looking for is voting so much for someone that it scares prompts the usual parties into doing their damn job for the country, not their bank accounts.
And do you know where that happened? Germany.
Really?
In the 30s. Because people forget this, but he was voted in. Because, and there's reasons why, and you can go into all that. There was a lot of stuff post World War I, and you can understand why, because at the time they had a really, really bad twice. Yeah, they did it twice. Oh, you can understand the second time though a little bit because
Yeah.
the reparations from World War One were incredibly unfair, and the strain on the average German was horrific. And you would
Yeah.
vote for change. Again, they didn't know the change they were getting. Now, I will also say, plenty of people just let it happen. And you know
Yep.
what's the saying? That evil always wins, not because good people don't oppose it, but because everyone else stands back and lets it happen.
Yeah. The bystanders, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much what many are. I
Yeah,
just
and that's
want to
what we're seeing now with the low voter turnouts because
yeah.
people are that apathetic because they don't trust politicians. And
Well, and they figure it's already rigged anyway. Now, Sophia's saying she's 25K plus, rents off a friend, which she's grateful. And yes, that's great. That's available. Don't have any children, so I'm zero priority on social housing.
yeah,
And that's it, right?
and,
It
and social
comes from
housing in
different
the
things.
UK has a shortfall of I think it's 2.4 million houses because in the 80s what they did, and I know why it was done and I understand the logic, but they introduced something where if you were a council tenant, the longer you lived in your council house, you could get a discount to buy it to get you on the property ladder. That's
Mm,
perfectly fine. But what they then didn't do is build more houses. So as they sold a house, they didn't replace it. So all these houses went dirt cheap, and that
yeah.
created the landlord class back to how it was in Victorian times, really. And yeah, it's the last time. So when I got divorced, I moved out. I was number 4,326th on the housing register for where I live.
Jesus.
So, and that was with me pulling council strings as well because I knew people.
Yeah.
I couldn't get social housing because it just wasn't available.
Yeah.
So, and that,
Yeah.
the same when I moved to where I am now, which isn't too far away from where I was before. But I had my lad with me. Even with him here, I couldn't get on the social register unless we went homeless
Mm,
first.
yikes. Like Dark Star saying the tariffs that the League of Nations forced Germany into the ground
Yeah,
just gave that party an open road. And see,
yeah,
this again is where that bigger perspective matters,
yeah,
right? I mean, initially, oh, let's, do this because of the war and consequences, but then there's that ripple effect.
yeah.
And I talked about the ripple effect before Captain Makeup took the throne, or whatever you want to call what he's sitting on. And I said there'd be a ripple effect to Canada. And I
Yeah.
knew that, but I sure as hell didn't foresee what it was. And I made the mistake of looking at I don't have stocks, I have mutual funds, and half of those are currently what generate my monthly income. The other part is thankfully I could start collecting my pension when I turn 60. Well, I've just lost a year's worth of money out of my mutual fund, actually, a year's worth plus in one. Yes, I'm sorry, this will be salty. One fucking month. From the start of March till the end of March, I now have to die a fucking year earlier because of that pancake face.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh calling him a
It is
pancake face
funny because,
abusedly.
and that's
But
exactly, that was my husband's reaction after I had paid my bills, made the mistake of looking at things. I'm like, honey, I'm going a year earlier because my money's going to run out in a year ahead of what I planned. Now, seriously, eventually the things will turn around, fingers crossed. There's going to be losses because whether you have stocks or mutual funds, it's always up and down.
yeah,
Thus, I don't look at it daily, same as YouTube analytics. That's just a short trip to crazy town. But I did not vote that SOB in. But
no,
now, even in another country, like everybody around this planet, that rotter is impacting so much.
yeah,
But we'll catch up on some comments. So, Dark Star, when I moved out, I was struggling, went to the York Council for help. said I wouldn't be entitled to anything as a single woman unless I had a child.
Because
That's bullshit.
it's because there is no houses. Because they never replaced the stock. Which now the argument is, well, you can't build houses on that land. But it's like, we've got to build them somewhere. And sometimes there's a good argument not to build somewhere. That's fine. But build a house. I mean, that's how you make something grow anyway, right? You build shit.
Yeah.
It's not complicated. You invest in your infrastructure. It gives people jobs. People have money. They go and spend money. They stimulate the economy by spending that money. Circle, 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 circle. Investment is what works.
Well, see, and that's why it pisses me off why things cost so much. It's like, you businesses keep saying you want customers, you want money. Well, then make the damn stuff affordable and quit being such greedy rat bastards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, bottom line, stop being such greedy rat bastards.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Sophia's saying, you know, same as with Dark Star, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you can't get it.
If you want to see capitalism gone wrong, look up what's happened to water in the UK, because they privatized it, which is a fucking ridiculous idea, just on a side point. But
listen to us and our F-bombs and salty language.
It winds me up.
See, you are a bad influence. I don't think I've dropped the F-bomb more than once ever in 2 years of streaming.
And now I'm here. But,
then.
But like, there was... I sent it to because I was talking to Margaret about it, actually, because obviously Margaret's very into the environment and stuff like that. And yes. I sent her a load of stuff, and it's like...
And we'll come back to Jen's in a minute, so I don't keep hiding you underneath.
Yeah, and what they've done is they sold it to private companies in the idea of it being run more efficiently. They have ran up record debts.
Oh, no doubt.
Whilst paying shareholders out about the same amount of money that they've done in debt and not modernized the systems. So now in the UK, we actually have a water pollution crisis in the fucking rivers.
Yeah.
Like, so there was a thing in our last election cycle, actually. Not too far from where I am, you've got Lake Windermere in the Lake District. Obviously, our lakes are a little bit small. They're like ponds to you in Canada. But to us, to us, the lakes. And this is like a massive tourist attraction area. It's like the big one of the Lake District. Beautiful place. I've been there. I went there on my honeymoon years ago. I've been plenty of times. Gorgeous place. You get E. coli if you go in the water.
Oh,
but
Lord.
there was actually a stunt by the leader of the third largest party in Parliament now, Liberal Democrats, where he threw himself in the water because he made this thing about doing these like weird, ridiculous stunts just to get media attention. And it's like, and he was talking about water and water purity. And it's like, that is a really stupid thing to do because you could get genuinely sick because the water quality in the UK is horrendous.
Oh, wow.
And so what they've done is they've paid the shareholders out and gone, oh, no, you want us to fix things. We need to put your bills up. We can only put it up this much, but we need more. Government, can we put it up more, please? And in some places, they've said yes.
Jeez. It's ridiculous. It's like, exactly. Okay, let's catch up. So Jen's saying here in the U.S., bystanders also have those who are supportive of the atrocities being committed. Yuck.
Yeah.
Not only are they, but they're cheering. Yeah, that's creepy. For sure. Voted second time. Yeah.
Yeah. And he pardoned them all as well.
So many brown sites, UK, build on, would cost money, clean the ground. That's why they want the green spaces so much. Yeah, it's now the one thing I did want to say in terms of the atrocities, and I've been following some of the situations with El Salvador and all of that going on. Now, here's my concern, and let's just say there was a reason I've gone to visit people in correctional facilities. So I know what those rooms look like, and they're not frickin' death camps in countries that are being paid to house individuals. I watched a bit of the interviews and I'm just laughing I've seen Jen's comment about the F bomb, but I'll get there. I've been to correctional facilities to visit people, and you know what? We were not, the person I went to visit was not dressed in nice, clean clothes, sitting in a frickin' restaurant.
No.
So I don't know how they got that worked out in El Salvador, of all frickin' places, but that was not an image of visiting him in the frickin' jail where they're being held,
No.
which pisses me off.
Well, the other thing is, and I don't know how legitimate it is, but apparently Mike's caught something with his with Trump's press conference as he was walking in.
Mm.
This is the
Oh,
thin end of
yes.
this is the thin end of a wedge.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna get worse, and there's a reason why.
Oh, hell yeah.
There's a reason why tourism to the US has suddenly dipped
Oh,
from,
yeah.
because it's like 80% down from Canada.
70 is last I heard, but
Yeah,
it's ridiculous
and
insane.
it's the same from like people over here, that it doesn't feel safe to go. And even like people who are in charge of big companies
Yeah.
who operate in the US who've been critical of Trump potentially, they're taking burner phones with them rather than their normal device, so that there's no content
Yeah.
on there, so they can't get arrested,
Yeah.
because
It's insane. It really is. And I mean, again, and the ripple effects, right? So tourism's down. I know up here, a few of our airlines have, the last I heard on one news thing, 300,000 seats are no longer going there. So they're changing to different destinations. But but you figure out the ripple effects. And the trolls crack me up. Ooh, we don't want you anyhow. Oh, we don't care. Don't come to our country. And I'm thinking, okay, you're either a wood tick with one brain cell and nothing to rub against, or you just don't work in tourism and you don't know how the ripple effect of all this shit works. Because it isn't just, ooh, you're not coming to our country. It's, okay, the people who work in your airports are not as busy. The people at your hotels are not as busy. The people in your restaurants and the tourist attractions and all the other places where people go shopping are all losing money.
what
It isn't
happens.
as simple as,
No,
ooh, we don't need you.
what happens to Florida when all the people going to Disneyland stop going?
Well, they just noticed in March because up here, March break, that's when a lot of the Canadians go down from schools and things. Snowbirds are not just coming up early from Florida, they're selling their damn properties. Like they're not planning on going back. And it's sad because not everybody is a douche.
Yeah.
But it's becoming scary. Okay, Sophia is in Wales. Single occupancy means living with troublesome youngsters in my 40s. Now, see, Dan from World of Mr. Gray is also in Wales, and I know he's had a hell of a time. He'd had to move the last few years, not because of anything of him, but the one landlord had sold the place, so suddenly he had to find a new place. Thought he was going to be settled. Sure
Yeah.
as shit, same thing. That person was selling and he didn't have the option of staying as the tenant. So thankfully, touch wood, he's been in the same place for a little bit, but and he's also single, and it's tough. He's mid to late 40s. maybe early 50s, may not be, but I know, like, even and he's been working full time for quite some time. He's actually, I believe, a graphic artist by trade. He's been in the same company for years, stable employment, makes a little bit on the side with YouTube and his memberships. But even he said, oh, someone had in one of his videos a while ago, why are you wearing a hat inside?
You
It
can't
was
afford to
a
turn the heating on.
cute, and that's what he was saying. I
Yeah.
can't afford to keep the heat on all the time.
Yeah. Over
And he's bald, so he's like, my head gets cold.
yeah. I'm over winter because this is, if I lived on my own, I wouldn't need this house, like to be clear. But over winter, I cut back so hard to the point where my actual bill has dropped somehow for the year because it's like, can we have the heating on? You've got a duvet.
Well,
Cover
because you've
yourself.
got your kids, right? So
Yeah.
you've got to have certain
So
things. And
I use the
space.
heat when the smaller kids come. When the kids are here, I do not. So, like, I turned the heating on for an hour yesterday because the temperature dropped because downstairs gets really cold. I only
Yeah.
had it on for an hour and I only had it on really low, and I've turned it off since because it's like, can't afford it. It's
You
too
and Bruce
expensive.
can handle it.
Yeah, Bruce has lots of fur. He'll be fine.
But yeah, it's don't even get me started on the fucking water. Look at all the bombs we're dropping.
Oh,
We'll
I
see.
mean, if they boiled your piss, the water would be cleaner, but they won't fucking do that either, will they?
Can tell I'm not monetized and worried about getting demonetized. Jen, yeah, it made me laugh when we were on her live streaming her F-bombs. I'm like, she's got this sweet Southern accent and she's just so adorable. And it just makes me laugh to hear her say
I'm being good because I'm limiting myself to the F
when
word.
she says it.
Yeah, I'm limiting it to the F word. That I can say worse, but there's some words that I try and avoid.
You won't.
So.
Some of the water pipes not been touched since the Victorian era. See,
like the railways.
We'll hear the water, like, and yeah, makes me worry how long I'm going to be around. When we first moved here, my hydro bill, our hydro bill, was $90 every 2 months. A while ago, they decided, well, we're going to charge you for hydro and water separately. So the bill, of course, started going up. Then they decided, well, we're not going to charge you every 2 months. We're going to charge you every month. My monthly bill now, the last one, so March 2025, was $130.
What's that for? Is that
1 month?
Is that for
hydro and water?
Hydro meaning
heat.
Power. Heat. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Electricity, heat, all of that. 1 month, $130. Now, hang on. Okay. When they started doing a program to get people to use less, I called years ago. It was called a smart meter, so that you knew the up and down times and reduced. I called and said, yes, I'd like to have this. No, your rates are too low. You're not the people we're trying to target. And they're right. I know people who are spending $300 plus Canadian a month on hydro and water. I'm the low end of that bill.
So, all the Brits in the chat, throw in your approximate utility bills. I'll tell you mine that's gone down is £200 a month. Gas, electric, and water. And that has gone down because I've stopped using as much. Water's gone up, my gas and electric has gone down, but the actual price per unit has gone up.
That's crazy.
And that is me barely using. I use more water than I probably should. We're in England, we have plenty of it. this is the one that got me the other day.
You
right?
boil it by the sounds of it.
Oh,
Jesus.
honestly,
They
I
say
can.
don't drink the water
I'm.
in Mexico. Don't drink it in England. United
Well,
Kingdom. Sorry.
well. United Utilities, who's my water company for where I am, I got an email and text message off them the other day to say, just so you know, we've had reports that water in your area coming through your taps may be discoloured. Okay.
Yeah.
This is because we've been doing this work and this. Now, this is fine. Sometimes if they've done work and they've just lost,
Yeah.
that's fine. This was their solution. If you notice this, run your taps. It'll only cost you this much per litre. Not if you have any issues, let us know and we will give you a credit. It was, don't worry, it'll only make us a little bit of money if you run your water till it's clear. And it's like, you're telling me I might have brown water. Like, and it was brown water. I didn't have it where I was, fortunately, but obviously other
thank
houses locally
goodness.
must have done because it must have been local to my postcode. So
Yeah.
But it's like, in what world can a company that's there to provide clean, safe water to drink, because tap water in the UK is meant to be drinkable, in what world can a company turn around and go, it's not safe, but keep paying for it? How?
Yeah. In the world of we'll see in Dark Stars, right?
Oh,
You
Margaret, you
not
what?
learn from history.
Yeah, Margaret, we're talking about the British water system,
Okay.
politics. We've gone off on the deep end.
Yeah, we have. And I'm just gonna regen. So extremely dangerous, and that's the sad thing.
Yeah.
And I worry because there's one of my regular viewers, and I haven't heard from him in a while. And I know a while ago there were bad things in his community, and people were feeling emboldened. And yeah, it always stresses me when I don't see him responding. It's just bad times. Supposed to visit. Oh, is it September when he's
September?
going?
Is that confirmed now?
At least he won't be coming to Wales.
Well, the thing is, though,
now
right,
I know what that refers to.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to wait till I catch up.
Yeah.
Love to have y'all here. Now's not the time. Yeah, rather be somewhere else. I'm wondering because I know Gareth is planning to go next month, and I am just so hoping that goes well. Same over here. Morons want to get rid of the royal family, tourism. What else do we have?
Yeah.
Government sold all our industry. Okay, so Sophia is from Mr. Gray. Same age, follow him. It's how I found you. And Sophia, I know I have seen you comment different spots before. Yeah, Dan is da bomb. I adore him. And he's been so supportive. It's funny, like he's a debunker, he does paranormal stuff, but bless his heart, he supported me, shouted out my channel, even though it's entirely different from him. Get more Broad Yorkshire, the more annoyed I get.
I know full well that every time a bill comes through the door, Dark Star just opens and goes, "How much?" in a Yorkshire accent. You just know it.
And yes, Margaret, we're still on. I was looking because I said we'd be done at 4. Then we've got on to this whole other rant. And yes, we're still going, and we haven't sprinted, but we will have to wrap up in a bit.
How much?
Cobalt Dragon sets the timer. What timer? That's wild about the water. Love it. You ain't seen nothing. Seen the Western US's water system. 13 levels all left up. Yikes. Want to know what else you have? Read my books.
I've read some books. I've read some of Margaret's books. I highly recommend them. They are good historical fiction.
Beautiful scenery. No people. Wonder how that happened. How much? And no sprints. That's right. I'm almost following Kat's lead for Friday nights. But to be fair, we do get some sprints in with Kat.
Normally, when I go, I'm going bed now. Bye. That's when the sprints happen when I've left.
No, we still do some sprints even when you're there. And her sprints are actually, is it 3 hours? Yeah, 6
somewhat
to
like
9.
Yeah, we managed one sprint.
Okay, well, let's see. We might have been 3 hours because I was only going to be on for 2 and off at 4. It's now 5 p.m., but you
It's
know,
fine. It's fine.
stuff
But,
happens.
yeah, no, I didn't realize the tangerine.
It's your fault. You
I know.
wound me up with that
I did.
damn makeup piece of garbage human.
I still stand by what I said. But when the tangerine dream, it's going to be very interesting when the tangerine dream comes to the UK, because when you look at the polling in the UK, he's not popular.
He wasn't the last time. Why would he go back?
He's less popular now because he wants to meet the king, and you know, it's just it's going to be a bloodbath when he comes. Like, genuinely, I think it is going to be a bloodbath.
That I'm not laughing about. It's Sophia's comment. It's been lovely chatting and
because
getting wired for sound. It's going to be horrible. Like the one guaranteed thing, he is not coming to Canada. He did not show up the last time, and he sure as hell better not show up this time.
No, I mean, I think we'll see. We'll see if this much vaunted UK-US deal happens. I want
to see what Charles does with this.
Well, it's really interesting because Charles is an environmentalist.
Exactly.
And it's like, and he's also, for a royal, he is far more political than he is meant to be, constitutionally speaking. So it's curious. Francis Vaximate? No. I
haven't either. Do tell, Margaret.
Can we have
what happened in Iceland?
Can we have a proper conspiracy theory, actually, and see if it gets legs? Right.
Well, just be careful because we're on YouTube. I don't need like those American people showing up and I disappear in the night. My hubby would miss me. Well, so would my cats.
So the Pope passed away today.
Who did?
The Pope.
Oh, see, didn't even see that.
He passed away today. Which there's some symbolism there with it being Easter as well.
Yeah,
but just after JD Vance had been.
Just after.
Yeah, and apparently,
what a shock.
Yeah, and apparently the Pope sent the second in charge of Popedom. I don't know what you call the second in charge of the Catholic Church.
I should know because I was born Catholic, but I don't.
He sent like the second in charge out to basically give him a dressing down. The following day, the Pope isn't alive anymore.
That ain't good.
I mean,
just after he denied receiving Vance.
Yeah.
I did see the wall-to-wall protests in Vermont. So yes, I did see that. Oh, that ain't good.
It's interesting timing because the Pope had slammed Trump and the administration, and now he's not here after the vice president was there.
To lecture him on compassion is what I heard. Well, I mean, you're talking to a brick. Talking to Vance is no better than talking. And I don't know, the only thing I figure is once one is gone, as we all are, I mean, it doesn't matter how much money or grifting you can do. That's the one thing you can't shake. But the other one does not have the loyalty of the followers. So that's going to be a huge shakeup and see what happens and where things go.
Yeah, and very good point. There's going to be a swing to conservative.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
We'll have to wait and see where that goes to. And this is it, right? If the pendulum swings too much one way or the other way, and that's it. Right now, there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions to things. And I'm thinking in particular with certain boycotting things. I can't remember. It might have been some of the Canadian politic ones that I've been watching lately, because with the election and everything. And one person was like, excuse me, oh, I won't do this or that. And I've got rid of my Amazon and this and that. And I'm thinking, ripple effect. Now, am I a fan of Bezos? No. Are there issues with Amazon? Absolutely. Do I have a Canadian counterpart? No. And there is Amazon Canada employing Canadian people. When I have bought books from the American authors who I adore, those books are published in Canada. More Canadian jobs. Am I going to get rid of Amazon Canada? Absolutely not, because
No.
there's a ripple effect.
And the thing is, say what you like about Amazon, and most people use Amazon because it does what it needs to do well a lot of the time. I've never had an issue with Amazon customer service, as an example. Never had an issue when I've had a problem. But I will say that the issue is, again, just like Tangerine Dream not having the proper opposition, Amazon's never had it's hit a position where no one can compete anymore because people have allowed it to get too big, being government's regulation in this case.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of competition laws is meant to prevent this.
Yeah, I'm just going to grab a book because I want to double check with what Margaret's saying there. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to just suddenly willy-nilly cancel everything. Ooh, it's got an American this, American that. And hello, do people not understand how economics work? Even things made in Canada require things from the United States and vice versa. Hello, thus the lumber, steel, and aluminum tariffs. It might be made in one country, but it doesn't mean everything was processed available in that country. I need to grab one of the books that I've bought.
You've got me thinking now about where my books are printed, because it's not something I've ever actually thought about. Out of curiosity, although obviously being printed somewhere doesn't necessarily mean anything. The first book I pick up has a Bible reference in it.
Well, I've got this amazing author's book called The Keening by someone called Margaret Pinard.
Oh, I think I may have a book by that author. Hang on a minute. Where's P? Where's P in the alphabet?
Oh, now wait. See, this does say manufactured by Amazon Canada in Bolton, Ontario, which I did look that up. So let's see now.
I may also have a book by Margaret Pinard. Let's have a nose.
Copyright rights reserved, work of fiction, cover design. Hey, it's not telling me where it was printed.
Printed by CreateSpace, a DBA on-demand publishing LLC. Doesn't actually tell me where.
I now have to look farther because it says manufactured. So I'm wondering, does manufactured mean printed?
Made in the USA, San Bernardino, California. I've been there a long time ago, but I've been there.
Well, now I have to definitely look up, but it says,
it's
I'm guessing.
Right on the back page, you might have like a barcode on the back page.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Does it not say there that where it's
it says it's manufactured by Amazon Canada, Bolton, Ontario, and there's the barcode.
Bolton, Ontario, then. So there we go. Yours is actually Canadian printed.
And all of the self-published books, so Margaret, Nicole, Kat's Cookbook, and Charles, McGarry's Talendor's Guest, and Gareth's. Gareth's from the UK. I need to double check his, but I think they're all printed here in Canada, which is pretty cool because I know they came rather quickly. So I don't know how that
I'm
works
picking
that
random.
fast, come to think of it. They just zoom, print them off, and I think I got them in 1 or 2 days.
I mean, I suppose it
I
depends
could
on.
be wrong, but
It might depend on the country in as well. To be fair, because I know
it might.
there's quite a bit old printing houses in the UK still, so they won't have gone anywhere.
Okay,
But,
so Dark Star's saying, don't think people realize the power they could have as a collective. And I agree. And that's why more and more people need to talk, connect, and make positive change in a good way. I don't,
well,
you know.
there's an interesting thing there because, and again, this is based on outside observations of the US versus UK education systems. The US system, because I don't know the Canadian system, so I can't comment on that, feels a lot more driven to competition rather than working together, which is interesting because if you get that in really early on, the idea to compete to be the best,
Yeah.
at a certain point, you don't work together. And it's kind of, in a way, I suppose, the American dream is to be rich and successful, not to raise people up with you. If you
I
if you
don't
really
think
start,
that's exclusive to
it's not, but
US, sadly.
it's I think that's because of the nature. I think more capitalist than a lot of other countries. I think that's like it's at the degree. I think we do see it everywhere else a little bit. I did see an interesting thing comparing it to the UK system and how the UK system is based a lot more on collective achievement as a group rather than the individual. But that's mainly because they just want you to not ask questions and just go and do your job for minimum wage. But that's an indictment of our Victorian system of education.
All right, hold that thought, you. Do you mean printed? Pretty sure they're printed in China. So we have proved no, they're not. Love the protest sign. Big fish getting eaten. Pac-Man.
Yep.
Yep. Mostly printed in is that Tennessee or North Carolina? I'm thinking. Maybe Canada has a printing center. That perhaps
It
in North Carolina.
it makes sense for big countries to have their own printing center, just in terms of costs, probably.
Yeah.
To be fair,
Well, especially with the lumber tariffs and stuff. It
Yeah.
still pisses me off that dumbass is sniveling about people taking advantage. And yet, as a Canadian, I've had to pay more for books for decades.
Yeah.
And yet it's our frickin' lumber going over there to print the book. And okay, we're not getting sidetracked. Got to catch up.
I won't tell you how much a guitar costs.
No. Oh, cool. Now we know where their Ontario Center is. Print locations on the last page. There we go. Should have caught that up. Okay, I'll let you talk now and then I'll catch up.
I forgot what I said. It's gone. It's gone.
We're hilarious.
We're summer. Definitely summer.
Yeah. Current one printed and bound in Great Britain. Okay. I'd say that's where it's printed. Woo woo, Canadian jobs. Publish date. Oh, okay. So, Dark Stars is 2022. There you go.
Some of mine are US, but some of those are actually US exclusive. US exclusive publishers, because I have a few things from Peachtree Publishing in the US, which is a very no, that's not English. Pro LGBTQ plus child and YA publisher. I highly recommend checking their stuff out. Their covers are amazing as well, just on a side point. Absolutely phenomenal.
I would have no doubt you buy cover, it all goes together. That's why Kat and I are still laughing about you and her one StreamYard.
Who doesn't want a book that looks like this? And this is a basic edition.
Okay, which one is that?
So this is Spirit Bears Its Teeth. It's by Andrew Joseph White, who is a transgender author, transgender main character. This is actually historical horror, gothic horror, set in Victorian times. So might be of some slight interest to Margaret, actually. Set in 1883 in London, it's the idea of how medical science was used to keep like women down and minorities down, using medicine as the excuse. Specifically in this case, using like you've got mystical elements built into it because it's a horror. But the whole idea is that the main character in here wanted to become like a Freemason or something. So, but they were transgender, obviously before it was potentially referred to as that, I would assume.
Yeah.
And obviously they went through and then they got caught and they realized that they were born female. I sent them to a sanitarium and correctional facility for whatever, and the horrors that it went through. It's really good on a side point. Andrew Jones' white stuff is always good.
That's not Handmaid's Tale, but there is.
I've still got.
Or is it? No, it isn't Handmaid's Tale. Crap. There is a story, and I can't think of it now, but I can see the scene in the movie where they're put in. Is it? No, not Clockwork Orange.
If it's a movie, I will have never seen it.
Yeah, I know. I
have seen Clockwork Orange, but a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but that isn't the one. The scene that I'm thinking of. Oh, can I even put it together? The one character, I think, is gay.
Pardon me.
And for some reason, then she's taken away from the rest of the students and put into this program where they have to watch movies and they're told, they're not gay, they're just confused. And I cannot now, for the life of me, think of the book or the movie, because I'm pretty sure it's a book. It was a book, and then the movie's made based on it, but it's just out of my head.
Let me.
But I can see them sitting in the room looking at that stupid projector, and I know then.
It rings a bell. I cannot.
Yeah, see, it's. And I can't remember if it's a recent movie or a recent book people have been talking about. And I know the friends come to save her and pull her out of this ridiculous school. You know what? Riverdale.
It's
Riverdale.
I've not watched Riverdale. I believe it goes potty, but...
I haven't seen it in eons, but yeah, there we go. So it was cartoons. I used to read Archie and that group, but the scene is from Riverdale. I can't remember the character's name, and I know her brother dies. But yeah, it's the one character from Riverdale, and then they come. I haven't seen it. I don't even know if it's still on, to be honest. I think.
Oh, it's finished now. It's you can watch it, but the series has finished. It became more unhinged the further it went, I believe.
Oh, no doubt. And that's kind of when I stopped watching it, is because it had Veronica and Betty and Jughead and that whole group. And it was starting to get really cuckoo.
Yeah, it got from what I understand.
I can't remember if it was season 4 or 5 when we stopped.
So who was it I used to watch? I've not watched him for years actually. It's called Alex Myers, and he used to do like reviews of like various series, which he did Riverdale, but he never appeared on screen, so it's like fast talking reviews of stuff, like showing clips and going, it's like, what's going on? But he used to have like an animated like avatar that was hand drawn that would be doing stuff, and they'd be stood there going, what was going on? I was like, why do I do this to myself? But and I've just found him. So Riverdale is a Mess from 7 years ago has 5.3 million views. So there we go. So that's how you get big on YouTube. You draw cartoons of yourself ranting about things.
And if I knew how to do that, I would. I mean, Tiki and Panther are supposed to be doing their cat videos, but no. I have to find the pictures. I have to figure out how to do the editing. So once again this weekend, we don't have one because the little slackers didn't do their part.
I didn't do any of my videos for this coming week other than tomorrow's, which is a problem because I've no time to make any this week now. And I've just had permission for my next indie read as well, which I'm very happy about. So
nice. Well, I was going to put up my belly dance tag tomorrow, but there were so many glitches. I'm like, I'm not risking losing this after I got it all done, all edited. Screw that. It's going up today. So up today it went, and we'll see what happens with it. In terms of anything else, I don't know, because like I put in my post, I'd already said earlier this month it was going to be a slow month. And even though I've now thankfully got I'm touching wood, like my table's real wood, put that dental stuff behind me. I'm on the mend. I still talk a bit funny, but I think part of that's getting used to no molars on this side. So I've still got 2 months. I'm not dedicating or saying anything for sure until the first full week of May.
I've overcommitted. I have so overcommitted for next month because one thing that I have, obviously I've put my update up.
Yes. I read that and commented.
Yes, you did.
I noticed you missed how many new books you're buying.
I'm not buying any new books next month other than 2. Well, no, technically one's this month, but that's a pre-order and I've not got it yet. So
we'll see then.
No, because I need to give the bad people money next month, as in companies. But I'm doing a collab next month on YouTube.
What does that mean? Oh, collab. Okay.
I'm doing a month-long collab. Well, it's not going to be a month-long. It's going to take me a month to do the damn thing. So for anyone who has not heard of it, is it This Kiwi? Is that the name of the channel? I want to make sure I get the channel name.
Oh, yeah, This Kiwi. She's New Zealand.
Yes. So I managed to catch one of her sprints the other day, which I don't normally because time difference. And she said, "Oh, where's a good place to contact you? Because I want to do a thing." It's like, okay, what is this thing? So I will be doing. She does a series called Reading the Beat, and basically, she picks 3 songs. I pick 3 songs. We throw them at each other, and we read books based on something to do with those songs, be it the vibe, the lyrics, the feelings that they give.
Oh, cool.
So I'll be doing that next month. Now I've not watched her videos that she sent me yet. I got it early on stage. She's watched mine. I've had a reply to it because I did warn her. I warned her that I can be a bit eclectic in my musical taste, to put it mildly. And I have had a reply off her, which is literally reaction done, and you made me go gasp. So, because I've decided to, most people pick the favorite songs. I'm not that basic. So
you just like to play outside the box, Ben.
The whole world is my sandbox. That is how I see things, and somehow it occasionally doesn't go badly. I don't know how, but
hey, you're doing great on BookTube and all the rest of it. So, and take the compliment.
I'm doing BookTube, but nah, it's fine.
Wouldn't it be creepy if my hand could actually go through?
Be like, I watched something. Doctor, I don't know if we've scared Aaron off or if he's still here, but Doctor Who had something very similar this week because the new season is on now, and it had cartoon coming to life and coming out of the screen in like a 1950s, 60s cinema, and it was so good. Like it was, I didn't like the first episode. First episode was rubbish, but this one was really good, and I really liked it. And it was like that, that very like Looney Tunes cartoon style with the weird weeps and noises and like the repeated
Yeah.
catchphrases. And it's like, I really like this. This is what I want to watch. Next week looks like it's depression and horror,
Oh,
but you know,
let's see with Margaret. Committed nothing. Cannot disappoint anyone. That's how it works, right?
I mean, in my defense, I don't have much of a defense. Actually, I don't. What did I even say I'm doing this month? I did it like when I should have been asleep.
You
last
got a
night.
whole ton of stuff you're doing this month.
I did. I did kind of info dump, to be honest. I've not done a post for a while. What did I actually put? Because I can't remember.
You're gonna be busy.
Okay, that's this week. That's fine. Oh no, I have done Saturday's video. That's fine. It's the Dragon Book Tag I still haven't recorded yet.
Oh, cool.
Partially
Looking forward to that.
because part of me like wants to read book 1 of Blackwater so I can go shiny book because it's a gold cover. But I don't
Yeah.
think I'm going to manage that this week.
It's not
But-
that long a read.
It's not, and it's a pretty cover. It still annoys
It's
me
a
that
You've got a lovely cover. I've got the big honkin' set, but
all
see,
the
I'm
covers are nice,
waiting
but
until Don't Die July because I love me my Michael McDowell Southern Gothic.
well, I might save it for then actually, to be honest, because I've got.
Hey, we were gonna buddy read that, and then we got into Wheel of Time.
We did, and then we fell behind on that as well. So, the Wheel of Time video. That's what. Yeah, I've got to do that after we've had the conversation, though. So that's going to be interesting timing.
Yeah, well, we have tea time for
Third?
that on May the 3rd.
I've not written the time down, which is really stupid of me.
I'll Voxer you it because I know I wrote it down this time after Voxer ate it. I didn't realize, except Voxer doesn't take out the pictures, it just takes out the messages. Silly
Sometimes it does
Voxer.
both. Voxer's. Whilst I hate to give
It's
Meta credit,
interesting.
whilst I hate to give Meta credit for anything, WhatsApp is so much better. But
Yeah. I had someone ask me about WhatsApp, and I'm like, no, because I just don't want a boatload of passwords I have to remember. I refuse.
it keeps me logged in all the time. It's fine.
See, I don't stay logged in anywhere all the time.
Oh, I do. But I also know how horrendous my passwords are to hack because I tried to hack them.
Yeah. Well, if you're logged in, they don't need to hack your password. You're there.
Oh no, they need to get onto my
Discord.
stuff.
No Discord for me. It lives up to its name, which is why I find it comical. And this face does it. I find it funny. A word that means, literally all messed up is a communication platform. Like, no,
I mean,
it does not play nice with me.
I'm only in 3 groups on Discord.
It hates me.
So, of which Noah foolishly made me a moderator in his chat, in his group, which is very silly of him to do because he keeps pinning things and I keep deleting them. But we were talking about Chuck Tingle.
You're such a stinker.
Well, don't give me the delete button. Like,
well, you notice you're not a mod here.
I know, but there's backdoors for stuff like that. It's fine.
Well, it's bad enough that Kat deleted me from her channel by accident, and I'm thinking, I don't even know how I would lose my mind if I accidentally deleted someone and then had to try and fight to get them back because I don't have anyone close to come walk me through that kind of craziness.
I mean, YouTube does not have the best customer service department, to put it mildly. Not that I've had any issues with them, but
yeah, so far I've been lucky and I'm just grateful. Everyone who comes in is so sweet, plays nice with each other and with guests and with me. But hey, so I just got a text that his tooth is all taken care of. And he's on his way home, which means I should probably think, well, he's not going to want to eat much because I can't remember if he had a filling. I think so. Yeah, he
Soup
didn't.
for tea.
Yeah, he didn't have to get his teeth pulled. But so he'll be home shortly. So I should probably get off because I came on at 2. I was going to be done by 4. I thought there
You
was
should
going to be a
know
sprint.
better than to invite me onto a live stream, because this happens every time.
But it was lovely. I
ev-
enjoyed it. It meant I didn't have to yap by myself. And,
That's fine. I just annoyed you and the entire chat briefly when everyone thought that I was pro-Trump for a few seconds. It's like, no.
But see, it's good. It got everyone engaged and we know people were listening.
Yeah. Yeah, we
But
definitely knew. Oh, hello. Sorry.
Oh, hello.
I've just. Why is that even? Oh, someone's.
I
made
don't
it.
know. But you
I don't
hold
know.
that thought. I'm going to say thank you to everyone who could stop by, joined in, share their thoughts. A big thank you to Ven, who just got pulled out of cyber and tossed on without any plan.
Plans are overrated. If
They
you need a
are.
plan, you're doing it wrong.
See, life is what happens when you make plans.
Life is what happens to other people when I happen to them. Noah can attest to this.
Well, and you didn't end up reading after all, but we had a fun afternoon.
It's fine.
Oh,
I don't
see?
want to read my book. That I'm reading at
Margaret
the
loves
moment.
our silliness. We're both marvelous. Hopefully, we gave some people some laughs as well as conversations.
Hopefully, Noah does his reading sprint tomorrow.
Well, there we go. We'll
And I
just
will
have
read
to wait
tomorrow
and
because
see.
I need someone to motivate me to read the book I've started because it's not going well so far.
Well, I'll send you a chat on Voxer, but for now, we're going to wave goodbye.
Night,
Thank you so
y'all.
much for